by. We are live on Twitter and YouTube as well. Check us out on your favorite podcast app. It don't matter where you find us. It just matters if you're listening. Thank you for tuning in as always. Joining me today, a first timer on this show, but we've been on podcasts together. We've been in production rooms together. We've talked a lot of ball in the newsroom. And this is the first time on Subway Sports Talk I get to talk to my guy, Kris Pursiainen. He is a Knicks beat reporter for Clutch Points and Knicks Daily, pumping out articles, pumping out takes. His Twitter is on fire all the time because he knows ball. Kris, what's up, my dude?
Yo, what's going on? Appreciate the kind words and appreciate you for having me on the show. Definitely a star-studded cast on this show all the time. So definitely an honor in that same regard to get to now say I've guessed it. It's like SNL has like the five-timer club sketch, like that'll be me one day,
Yeah. Well, we've done T.O. Allen Friends, which has taken a long leave of absence at this point now, but that's okay. We still love T.O. Allen and Friends. We've done that together a few times, and now Subway Sports Talk. That's right. Kris Pursiainen. That's at Kris with a K, K-R-I-S, Pursiainen's Pursiainen. Follow him on Twitter because he tells you what you need to know. Subway Sports Talk. Let's get into it.
And clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, Kris, it's time to talk about the Knicks, obviously, right? So first things first. Also, wait, I was supposed to pitch you an idea, wasn't I? Let me pitch this idea to you real quick before we get into Knicks Hawks. Because Knicks Hawks is exciting, but you were telling me about how you covered all these games this year. You were at 29 Knicks home games covering them for Clutch Points and Knicks Daily. That's amazing. And then you were talking about all the games you watched this year on your free time when you weren't at MSG, all around the league, NBA League Pass, national games, etc. And I have to ask you, KP, why does League Pass not provide a Spotify Wrapped-esque report at the end of the year for its viewers? I want to know how often I was about to say the Detroit Pistons, but they're not my League Pass example anymore because they're a hot team in the streets. But I want to know who I'm tapped into on League Pass. I want to know which halftime show I would never turn off because they got the crazy mascot shooting backcourt shots. Shout out to Rocky from Denver. Why doesn't League Pass have a Wrapped, KP?
Yeah, wait, and hold on. Wait, I just cooked in my own head. Wait, so when you watch a game, you log it, right?
Yeah.
And like the way to log it is okay. You're gonna have to close your eyes and imagine here. When you go to say I watched this game, when you are editing a video in Photos and like the two arrows, you can trim the ends. Okay, that comes up with the times and quarters, and you put how much of the game you watched.
So you want me to do it myself? You want me to log it myself here?
Well, no, I'm saying like you go into the each time you watch it. That you don't have to actually do it. I'm saying it'll know.
Right.
But like
I see what you're saying.
That concept of like, it's not, if you watch 5 minutes of a game, it's not going to say you watched this entire game.
Right.
And it keeps track of the buckets, the rebounds, the assists, the blocks that happened in those minutes. Okay. Now hold on.
Oh, I like this.
Don't walk with me here. At the end of the year, part of your Wrapped is like you watched this player score the most points.
Whoa. You watched Jalen Duren dunk more than anyone else on League Pass. Or in the top 1% of Duren dunk fans.
Adam Silver, you want free money?
Free money, please.
AT&T just did March Madness campaign Best Connections and Staying Connected. So AT&T sponsored Best Connection. What the most assists that you watched?
Wow.
What was the player that got the most assists? And what was the best connection? What was the best A to B assist duo that you saw? What about high flying connections? What about alley-oops? What about who did you see
from distance?
Right?
Most threes you've seen. Oh,
from 30 most threes from 30 feet plus. Most threes from 30 feet plus. Something reading glasses or something like that sponsors the like long range focus or whatever, I don't know. We are on to something.
Genius. The brand opportunities, Kris, this is insane. Cause I had a small idea and then you took it and ran for 40 yards and a first down. Now we're setting up, first and goal. We're about to punch this thing in. This is genius. The only problem, let me hit you with a problem. We're about to get sacked on first and goal real quick. We're about to be at the 9. This is what's going to happen on NBA Twitter. This is what happens here. People are going to leave their league pass on all night. They're gonna go take a shower. They're gonna walk the dog. They're gonna eat dinner. They're not gonna watch. So then they can post on Twitter, be like, "You don't even know ball, bro. I watched 92 hours on Tuesday alone. How about that?"
You have to let this happen. You have to let this happen. The market will correct itself, because when someone comes out with a Spotify Wrapped and they listen to 237,000 minutes of music, the first thought I have is you fell asleep with your AirPods in.
Yeah.
Not, wow, you really love music.
You left it on all the time, no matter what, no matter where you were.
The market will correct itself. Yeah. There will be your Wrapped won't be valid if you have watched 400 games or you watch 1,700 games or whatever it is. No one believes you. But 180 games is way more than I watched last year or this year. I watched like 130 last year. That's a lot of games. I would believe you. Maybe 50 of those are fake. I don't care.
You know how it's so popular on social media right now? It'd be like, just say you don't know ball, bro. Just say you're a casual, man. It's like, drop your league pass Wrapped. What you got?
I just tweeted about this the other day, how the advent of casual as a slur has decreased the quality of sports discourse immensely.
1,000,000%.
Because what it does is, and you know school and teacher logic well, what do teachers always say about cheating on assignments? They'd rather extend the due date than have you not actually do any thinking just to get it in on time and like have AI do whatever. Like they'd rather give you an extra week at the end of the day if you really talk to a teacher. Like people end up feeling like in an age of information where everyone can look up box scores and analytics, they're not allowed to talk ball unless they pretend they've watched 400 games.
Yeah.
And then everyone's lying. And it's like, I've watched the Thunder play 12 games this year. I don't think I'm freaking, Brian Windhorst, but it's like, I do think I have a pretty good idea of what situations they struggle in and when it is that they look like they're on top of the world. And 12 full games is, I bet, more than a lot of people have watched of a team that's in a different conference than the one they cover. Like,
right. And I think that's another thing too. It's like when you post about another team, right? These national NBA guys, it's a hard gig, bro, because me and you are Knicks guys, right? We're watching, you were at 29 Knicks games. You probably watched 65, 70 Knicks games. I don't know, maybe, right? Give or take.
56 actually only.
There you go. That's still a ton of Knicks games. Let's be honest here, right? I didn't track
60 mine, including preseason. Yeah.
Right. Like I didn't track mine. I'm sure I'm in a pretty high number up there. We know the Knicks way more than your average national NBA guy because they're trying to watch all the teams all the time. So when I'm saying you don't understand that Jordan Clarkson's gotten really good at tipping out offensive rebounds to his teammates, they're probably like, what, dude? Like, of course I don't, but they can't say that. They got to act like they know ball. Like, oh yeah, for sure. It's a very difficult thing to do. But I think our idea of NBA League Pass Wrapped is way more good than the slight bad of people trying to watch this term here, League Pass Max themselves. We don't want a bunch of League Pass Maxers out there on Twitter saying they know ball because you don't know ball, bro. That's how it goes. That's great. This is an amazing idea. I love it so much. You remember real quick, because it just came to my head. Do you remember Ron Jaworski when he was on ESPN? I'm a little older than you, not much, but I think just enough where you were probably a little young when he was still on ESPN.
I was going to say, I don't remember. Like, I know the name 100%.
He was a quarterback as well. Way back when.
I couldn't remember like, oh, he was always XYZ on the air. Like I couldn't.
So I'll give you the quick insight. He was a quarterback in, let's say, the 70s and 80s. I don't even remember. I was too young. I was not alive when he was a quarterback. But he was on the ESPN preview show and like whatever their NFL Live adjacent segments were on SportsCenter back in the day. And the biggest joke for Ron Jaworski all the time, before memes were even a thing, was he would say how much film he watched of a team before he broke down what they were going to do. And he would be like, I watched 62 hours of film of the New York Giants since Wednesday. And it was like Thursday night. It's like, dude, there hasn't even been that many hours. It was memes before memes. Like this was maybe like early Twitter and
just
YouTube.
Just a good old fashioned bit.
Yeah. Just good old fashioned bit. I think it was Neil Caliendo.
For the love of the game. He couldn't it wasn't even engagement baiting. It was just for the love of the game.
I've watched 914 hours of Tom Brady since Monday. It's like there's not that many hours in the day, Ron Jaworski.
There's like a little Gruden to this. Like I feel like there's he's like a modern maybe. Oh,
good stuff. All right,
fantastic.
let's get into the real thoughts here on the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. I'll throw out some random odds throughout the conversation here, but this is not a gambling show. We're just going to use it as reference points and to understand what's going on with these concepts and series and what the public might be thinking and what the books are thinking. But Chris, the Knicks are playing the Hawks at 3 versus 6. I feel like I'm a little bit surprised, but maybe I shouldn't be by the initial discourse regarding this series. Now, you've been in the building. You talk to a lot of folks. You watch a lot of ball. You're a ball knower, some might say. Were you expecting this level of energy, hatred, discourse, fierceness with the Knicks Hawks series in round 1 here?
Yeah, online from the fans, honestly, yeah, I was, because Hawk fans are very proud of their team, and they were very proud of Trae Young. They were right that Trae Young was underrated by the NBA landscape at large. I do think Trae probably got a little overhated on over the years. But that it's like your friend that has like a good fantasy football take where it's like, yeah, I think this guy's a little underrated, but then they draft him in like the 3rd round, and you're like, okay, what was the point of any of that? You know, like yes, the guy with the 10th round ADP is a steal, even if you draft him in the 7th, but you took him in the 4th, so that's not a steal. You're just like you're trying to be right. You're not trying to win. You know, I think sometimes it feels like there's a little bit of that. For example, there's a Hawks account that I was on a Hawks podcast the other day. The Believe
Knicks
in
Fan TV.
The Hawks Fan TV.
Hawks Fan TV. Is that who you're thinking of? Because I saw that today. I took the bait on one of their tweets as well.
So here's the thing, right? I was on a Hawks show the other day, the Believe Network Hawks show, and they were saying like, don't let Hawks Fan TV represent the fan base. Like, he's insane. I was like, you don't understand. It's way too late. Like this guy has been chirping for 5 years now, since 2021. Like, he never let up after that series in 2021. So this series happening now, this is like Cat got the gun, literally Karl Anthony Towns, and like now it's a much different Knicks team now, and it's a much different Hawks team. And while the Hawks and their fans, were underrated by the league after the Trae Young trade. CJ McCollum being overpaid does not mean overrated. It usually probably means underrated. I remember when I was looking at colleges. Remember, I graduated college 2 years ago, and when I was looking at colleges, NBA Twitter convinced Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, awful players, overpaid, no reason for them to be on $50 million a year deals. I know Chris Paul, not as much, but both played this season 5, 6, actually 7 full years after I said that. After people were writing them off, they were still both in the league,
right?
And Russ is going to probably be in the league another year. So I think CJ McCollum, underrated. The Hawks, the way they play now, Sharon and Karen. That Magic, Pistons, Thunder, you can add the Hawks in there I call them New Jersey Turnpike teams. And the reason for that is if all 5 guys are speeding, you can't pull them all over. All 5 guys foul. All 5 guys hand check.
Play hard, yeah.
5 guys play really tough. Literally, okay, you're Zach Zarba. All 5 Hawks foul at once. What do you do?
Probably nothing.
Which one do you call? Everyone's playing hard today, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you probably call nothing, right? Okay. So
did you say Pistons in that category as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're probably leaders in the clubhouse.
I said Thunder, Pistons, Magic are the teams that are like nominal, like deserve the most credit in this regard. But I think the Hawks, Dyson Daniels, are about to show that they deserve some placement here as well. And that is going to all be things that Hawk fans are rightfully proud of going into any playoff series, and 2, the things that the Knicks need to worry about, because, and I know Knicks fans don't necessarily want to hear anything besides the Knicks are winning this series, which I do think they are winning the series. But let me just raise a point. Have the Knicks, let's take the Knicks out. I'm not going to say the word Knicks for the next 30 seconds, right? The Atlanta Hawks are a young team, athletic, long, strong, young, eager. They play hard, right? And are they not the exact kind of young team with some veteran spice, little CJ McCollum, little veteran ball handling, right? You have young guys at the positions you want young guys, the off-ball guards, the big, strong forwards, but the small ball handler, that's your savvy, decade plus veteran. That's your leader. Okay. Is that not the exact kind of team? If there was going to be a team that upset a contender, that could maybe do it. And if there was a contender that would get surprise upset, and remember the word upset and surprise, and that all comes from it not being expected. Um, wouldn't the contender that you kind of look around and single out as maybe susceptible to that kind of loss be the team that their highs are higher than almost any other team in the league, but their lows are just as low as any non-tanking team? And if you catch them in a bad 5-day stretch and you start out up 2-1 over the Knicks, and then you're still in Atlanta for game 4.
Right. Yeah, it can get scary.
So again, not even gun to my head. Uh water gun to my swimsuit. Like Knicks in 5, right? There's no pressure on me to make any sort of prediction. The Knicks are going to win this series in 5 games because I think they are going to show, both in part because they'll have Mitchell Robinson available every game, in part because it's put up or shut up time, in part because the whole thing all season long was, well, it's the regular season. We're saving this, that, the third for the playoffs. Now it's the play. All of that, right? I think this just clicks. And I ultimately also think, despite the fact that I think Mo Gay is underrated, I think Yeka Kongwu has really grown into a fine young center. I don't think they have an answer for Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. I think they might have the bodies, the athleticism, an answer for one or the other, but they don't have an answer for both. So the Knicks will win in 5. That said, the Knicks and the Hawks both kind of present themselves to me as the exact kind of teams that there would be a little bit of a topple, an imbalance. So this is not a series that I'm looking at and I'm saying, oh, NBA fans, unless you really love basketball, don't bother watching this one. Right. I think even if the Knicks win in 5 games, the test of Dyson and Nikhil against Jalen Brunson is going to be really fun. I think John Kuminga and Jalen Johnson, their physicality and athleticism, OG Anunoby, that's the guy for that, right? So this is going to be a really fun series. And just because I predicted to end in 5 games doesn't mean I don't think the Hawks are really going to have some feist to them.
I think they'll have tons of feist. I actually, to go prediction-wise, I would lean Knicks in 6 for my prediction. Just not because it will be much closer. Like we saw that Celtics series last year was technically 6. It was kind of 5, right? Like now, granted, if you want to get specific and granular, we can talk about the historic bad shooting from the Celtics and the 20-point leads that they blew, et cetera. So it was close, but like Tatum goes down. The Knicks could have won game 5. The Celtics play this crazy game and win big in 5. They'd get crushed in 6. It wasn't really a 6-game series, but it was a 6-game series. And I can kind of see that similarly here with the Knicks series, where the Knicks win close 1 or 2. And then maybe when you go back to Atlanta, the Hawks win 1, steal 1. Then I could just see that 6-game stretch there, but 5 makes sense to me. And I think the points that you're alluding to and getting to here are exactly why. I think people are forgetting about this team right now versus last year, that Mitch is fully healthy and full go. And if you watched him over the last few weeks, he's looked as healthy as he has, if not healthier, than all the rest of the season, right? That's for starters. Number 2, Jalen Brunson does this, right? Go check out the Basketball Reference playoff stats.
Every year.
If you want to talk about closers in the NBA, I believe Jalen Brunson is top 5, maybe top 4. I think you look at SJA, you look at Jokic, you look at Luka, and those might be the only 3 closers, and we're talking about closers specifically, that are clearly ahead of him. You can talk about Donovan Mitchell. You can talk about Kawhi at the peak of his powers. You can maybe bring up a Tatum or someone like in that ilk as a closer in the last 4 to 6 minutes of a fourth quarter. Brunson has been doing this for years now. This is not new, right? So Dyson Daniels is going to give him fits. He's going to make Brunson uncomfortable. But in that fourth quarter, when it comes to it, we saw it with Oscar Thompson last year. We saw it in the Celtics series last year. Brunson's going to get his. So I think at the end of the day, it does become a pedigree thing. Hawks versus Knicks. This Knicks team has the scars, right? So there's always this conversation, Chris, when you talk about playoff teams in the NBA. Oh, well, this team is too young. They don't have any battle scars yet. They're not going to get there.
This is a good one for the Hawks coming up.
Right. So like they're not going to get there yet because they don't have the scars. And then you have the team like the Nuggets. Well, they've won before, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But then the teams that have scars, like the Knicks, they don't get any benefit of the doubt because they've never went past the threshold, right? So which is it? What is true? Do the Knicks have scars that are going to help them succeed in a playoff series against a team with no scars? Or because they've lost every playoff in the second round or third round here the past few years, they're going to lose again? Like, no, I'm not buying into that. They have more talent. They have a better closer. And they have more experience. And at the end of the day, in the playoffs, that's going to be one of the deciding factors, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the notion that in any close game, the New York Knicks should be feeling good about their chances of winning. I think the proof, if you want to have a bite of the proof flavored pudding, they chefed some up on the day after Easter. Right? Captain Clutch rose again. He reprised his role as Captain Crunch Time, Captain Clutch, whatever you want to call him. Really, really stunk up the joint in the first 3 quarters. And I'm not afraid to say that because I could tell you right now, Jalen would be the first person to tell. He would actually, and this is a professional take and usage of this word. Jalen would use the word ass to describe his play in the first 3 quarters.
That's exactly the word he would use. 100%.
Okay, see, so that's my professional opinion. That is truly what he would say about his play there. That said, in the fourth quarter, he made it all not matter, and that's something the Hawks are not going to forget. They are going to remember that every single time they're in a close game with the Knicks in the series. That is going to really, really open the door for Karl Anthony Towns because the second that you put a second body on Brunson, right? That's kind of the Knicks' whole thing is, our role players are stars on any other team, and that's why you're screwed. Like that's kind of the Knicks' whole shtick. So if they're not blowing the Hawks out because of Mitchell Robinson offensive rebounding dominance, because shooting variance, Shamit's got 19 points at the end of the third quarter, and Bridges has 21 at the end of the third quarter, and Towns he only has 12 and 11 because he hasn't even really needed to shoot any threes at all. He's just been getting putbacks and popping them back in. Everything's going to these wide open shooters because they're really selling out on Jalen. Do you see a full series going that way? Hell no. But that's why the New York Knicks built their team this way, to be able to play different kinds of basketball. Even a team like the Celtics that struggles with their front court depth, despite Keita having a really amazing season. If you want to say he's the most improved player, I wouldn't blame you. But it's just tough to be like they have a leg up on any other team's front court.
Right.
That said, their other players are so good, and their system is so strong, and their players are so bought into that system, and their coaching staff is so good that I do think that compensates. And I do think they could beat the Knicks in a series. The Hawks have a strong system, have athletes, have young players, have indefatigably young defenders, right? But I think the Knicks have enough talent for it to not matter. To me, I think 6 is a really nice prediction from you, and that is the same kind of 6 I would say as that like Pistons series,
right? Exactly. Where it's close, it's going to give you some extra.
There was a cat game,
extra agita in there.
There was a cat game, they prevail. Yeah. Right? There was a campaign game, so that means Clarkson, right?
I love Clarkson. We'll get into some specifics on the Knicks roster too.
So maybe Clarkson wins the Knicks 1 game in the Hawks, in the Hawks series.
Josh Hart could
Maybe
hit 4 threes in the last 3 minutes.
Hart
Who's to
wins
say?
them one game. This is like the Bill Simmons math, right? Like
Yeah,
girls have girl math where it's
Yeah.
like girls have girl math where it's like, well, I already took out the cash, so if I spend it, it's free because I already lost the money from my account. So
Mhm.
this bag was free. Boys have Bill Simmons playoff math where it's like, well, the Jazz could beat the Thunder in a series. Like, you got a Keontae George game, and then there's the Bryce Sensabaugh piece, right? And that really is what. But Jordan Clarkson wins
Joe
the Knicks
House
a game.
comes in. Don't forget about Ace Bailey.
So Clarkson wins them one game. Clarkson wins them one. Hart wins them one. Towns wins them one. Brunson wins them one. And the only reason Brunson doesn't win them more than one is because the Hawks don't let him, and that's why
Right.
those other. So a great philosopher, St. Thomas of Thibodeau, always said, "Let the game tell you what to do." And Mike Brown has said the same thing several times this year because it's just true. You can't
when
go
you have
into a
options,
play.
That's extra true.
And you can't go into a play being like, no matter what, someone's shooting a floater.
Right.
Who does that serve besides the opposing defense? So like the Knicks have options and the Hawks don't have as many options. McCollum is going to be really good for them in this series and really important.
Maybe.
But I think the Knicks have the length to make him uncomfortable as a shooter. Playmaking, he'll be great. He will keep their offense going. He will keep them in games.
Let me pause you there for a second, Chris, because I have a thought on that, right? Because a similar thing's happening with the Cavs, and we'll get to like the Cavs series in a little while. CJ McCollum is a certified pro. He is a beloved player who deserves a lot of props for a wonderful career. He is not a playoff riser historically. He is not a guy who is going to put a team on his back in a playoff series historically. It's just like he was on good teams for a long time. They made a conference finals in a weird year where they probably shouldn't have, but they did. So like, it's not like he's had no playoff success. I'm not trying to make this a CJ McCollum hack job here. For his whole career, he's never been a guy you're that scared of in the playoffs. He is now. I'm not going to buy that. He's going to help organize the Hawks. That's going to be true. They have other guys like Jalen Johnson, now Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who are going to be the guys that are going to be extra scary, perhaps, if they like just hit another gear. Those things are definitely true. However, I believe the Knicks have the answers to the test, and you're making a face here, right? Because you're thinking about these guys. Before we get into those couple guys and the Hawks, answers to their questions here, I want to throw this stat out from Tommy Beer on Twitter here. Most playoff points scored in the clutch over the past 2 postseasons. You know who number 1 is, Chris?
SGA.
No, it's Jalen Brunson.
It's Jalen Brunson. SGA is up by 20, so that's
it's a little bit of a yes, correct. It is a little bit of a interesting.
What I was going to say was
if the Thunder are winning big, he doesn't have the chance or need to score that much in clutch time.
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson has 105 points in clutch time over the past 2 postseasons. SGA's in second with 67. That's a big difference. And your point that you made, the face that I picked up on there, was, yeah, the Thunder win by 15 all the time. They don't need clutch time. However, when we're talking about clutch time and a real strength of the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter is absolutely one of them, right? So that I just want to throw that stat out there.
Just the other week, just in that game the other week.
Now, we're just talking about Karl-Anthony Towns came up in conversation here. I wanted to ask you this as a guy who's in the building, who's tapped into the New York Knicks. Did you notice the 2-man game with Brunson and Cat? Like the usage of it just exponentially rose in the last couple games, and especially against the Celtics in that big matchup without Jaylen Brown, but it's still a big game. Did you notice that? And do you buy into the fact that this is going to be something they're keying in on into the playoffs?
Yes, and yes. And I'm still a little lost as to what the answer is. And what I mean by that is everyone noticed the 2-man game happening more. Mike Brown said they've been running it more. When asked why it's been better recently, he said, we've been doing it more. Karl-Anthony Towns was asked why it's been better recently. He said, Jalen and I have had really good conversations in recent days that are translating to the court. Kris Pursiainen said, while being there at the game, that he has noticed more communication between Jalen and Karl in between plays. And not communication like, oh, my bad, I got it, I'll be the nice guy, whatever. Jalen being like, I need you there. I need
Mm.
you here. That's way better to me than, oh, my fault. I'll get it to you next time. No, they don't mean that.
Right.
That's just like, get back on defense. It's like that. But and then the Jalen Brunson was asked about it, and he said, yeah, we've been running it more. It's been going well. He was asked why they haven't run it more. He said, I don't know. And then they were like,
that was an underrated impression right there. By
they
the
were
way.
like, do you think they would be? Do you think it's effective? It's like very effective. And they're like, why do you think if it's very effective, why didn't you do it earlier? And he's like, very, very effective play. So
wait, would you ever consider the concept? Because I saw this floated around, and I don't necessarily believe it.
that they were like sandbagging.
They were like holding it. I don't know. I don't think I'd buy that.
Oh, dude,
right?
No, I don't understand. It's got to be some block with regard to like, if I had to offer a guess right now, and like knowing that someone might be like screen recording or whatever, I'm gonna try and not like speculate. But like, if you told me, what is it? You ever watch House? House says
Sure.
that you need to the right answer is the theory that explains every single factor. If I had to take those 4 factors I just told you and add in a 5th of Mike Brown saying consistently that they've been making the offense easier for Cat, that they've been changing it, simplifying it, getting him to his spots more. I think this is what happened. Mike Brown had some ideas as to how Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns could have one of the best 2-man games in the NBA. Jalen Brunson moving a lot off the ball. Karl-Anthony Towns really, really passing early, passing guys open, reading the floor, making the right reads out of doubles. And the first half of the season, Brunson's usage rate was up, and Towns wasn't passing out of doubles the way that Brown wanted. There was one time where I asked Mike Brown about Towns having a couple first half turnovers out of the post and then not in the second half, and what kind of was said at halftime or what changed there. And he said, with regard to Cat's post ups, we were not getting the ball out to the right guys at the right time. And then a couple games later, I told him, you said Cat wasn't getting the ball out to the right guys at the right time, because when you're talking about Cat post-ups and you say we weren't getting the ball out, well, the only person in on a Cat post-up is Cat. He said, I never said that. So, like, this has been like a touchy thing all year, right?
Yeah.
This has not been something that they necessarily like me asking or like the reporters asking about. But at the end of the regular season, Mike Brown made maybe his biggest concessions following his biggest challenge. So he challenged Karl in the middle of the year, saying Karl needs to read the floor better. He needs to position himself better, and that will allow him to get better scoring opportunities.
He started making some incredible passes in that stretch.
I think it was Benji Ritholtz or maybe DJ Zula. One of the two of them coined the term pick and stroll for Karl-Anthony Towns' kind of low effort pick and roll engagements. And that has stopped. And also on top of that, they're running it more. So Brown has gotten Cat in his spots more after challenging Cat, giving him that big challenge of you need to read the floor better. Now Brown has conceded more. He's getting Cat the ball at the top of the arc more, which is where he really likes it, at the top of the key. And he is getting Cat set up in his spots in the ways that he likes. And Cat is rewarding him by making more layups and making more 3-pointers. Halfway through the season, Karl-Anthony Towns was not playing too great. He was not making more than 55% of his shots around the rim. He was not making more than 36% of his 3-pointers. For a big man who's elite at finishing at the rim with touch, soft touch, and finishing behind the 3-point arc with soft touch, the fact that he's a below league average in both of those shot types is going to mean he's having a bad season. Those are the ways he impacts the game most. It doesn't matter if your plumber is trilingual. If they're having a really bad week with regard to fixing the pipes, you are not going to be able to flush that toilet. Like they can read Latin. They can read hieroglyphics. Awesome. And they're so smart and cool for that. You are not going to be able to take a shower. You are going to smell. Like
Yeah.
when they're there for a certain purpose and it's not happening, it doesn't really matter that they're defending well, because Cat's defended well all season. But it
Yes.
didn't matter. It didn't matter
Sneakily.
at that point, right? So I say all of this to say that when you look at the Knicks side of this, and to go back to your question, like I really do think that the reason for the change in this two-man game has been so many different layers. But to
Yeah.
sum them up, it's not just that they're running it more, it's chicken and egg. They're running it more because they've changed it to make it more comfortable for Jalen and Carl both. They're getting
Yeah.
Jalen off the ball the same amount that they were earlier in the year, but they're getting him off the ball three-point looks that are more comfortable for him. This is just a thing of his. I've noticed it. Jalen really likes off the ball three-point shots from the corners. Jalen
Right.
is money from the corners, but above the break,
He rarely gets them on catch and shoot outside of offensive rebounds, really.
but he swishes them. No, like he's really good on
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
So I've noticed recently Mike Brown getting him more of those instead of trying to get him catch and shoots above the break. That's important to me. I've noticed Mike
Yeah.
Brown getting Cat above the break more because that's
he
where
likes
Cat
it
likes
there.
to be. So
Yeah.
he had Cat in the corner at the start of the year. He's almost swapped the two. Jalen likes the corner. Cat doesn't like the corner. Cat's like feels diminished by the corner. Cat likes the top of the key. Also, let me throw this out there. Maybe the dude that's 10 inches taller should be needing to heave the ball from further. Like that's just like a biomechanic logic thing that works out too. Put Jalen in the corner. So there are these little ways that Mike Brown has made, not concessions, but met his guys in the middle. As a result of that, the action has been more comfortable for them. Because it's more comfortable for them, they're executing it better. Because they're executing it better, they're getting better results. Because they're
And
getting
using it
better
more.
results, they're using it more. Because they're using it more, people are like, why haven't they always been doing this? And the
Yeah.
answer is, this is Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns' second season as teammates. Their second season as teammates. This is also that number 2 is how many head coaches they've had in that time. That's how many different
True.
offensive systems they've had in that time. And I would argue that it's pretty hard for anyone to come in after an Eastern Conference Finals run, a franchise's first in 25 years, and say, that was really cool, guys. How about you do 8 things differently because I say so? Like,
Right.
the Knicks didn't respond great to that. It took them a little bit to settle in. And then they did what? They won the cup and then totally took the foot off the gas. Then they were like, oh, we might hate basketball. We got to love basketball again.
They lost
then
9 out of 11 at some point in that stretch.
And then they rip 8 straight wins off as the response to that. And then they do another slump to end the season before they rip off a bunch more wins against bad teams. And then they slump a little teeny bit again. They lose to the Thunder, this, that, Rockets loss. And then they end the season with some wins against good teams. So it's like, who are the Knicks? The Knicks are a team in their second season with this core, with their first season with their head coach, trying to figure out who the hell they are. And they're trying to figure out if when they've played at their best, is that repeatable? Was that circumstance? Was it both? They're trying to figure out who they are just as much too. Mitchell Robinson didn't play back-to-backs all regular season. They're still figuring things out. That doesn't have to be the end of the world, particularly in an Eastern Conference where Cleveland just got James Harden at the deadline. Boston has no front court. Detroit has health problems and no secondary scorer. No one. This is like, I understand the Knicks outfit might not be that great, right? But we got baggy ripped jeans and untied shoes and dirty white tees, and it's like, yeah, it's a fashion show, and you might not have any designer on, but you're not necessarily going up against models here. Like, this is a tough Eastern Conference. Everyone's got flaws. This is the second apron era. This is the NBA. This is what we wanted.
Yeah, this is true. And what came to mind for me about Carl and Jalen with the 2-man game stuff and Mike Brown's whole kind of scheme offensively over the past few weeks when they were playing pretty well, generally speaking, the word, and why you were talking on top of it, is intentionality. I think intentionality changed for all of them, starting with Brunson and Cat. And I want to say a little trigger of it could have been Josh Hart, because I was on Twitter saying this exact thing. It looked to me like at some point when I was clamoring for more Cat touches and more Cat shots and treat him like a number 1 option, Josh Hart was trying to. Now, Josh Hart is a good passer and a willing passer and can rack up assists, but he's not like the best passer. And he's not incredibly gifted at seeing the floor in such a way, but he will try his ass off to get those guys good looks. And he was intentionally going out of his way, him and Alvarado. Let's give Cat the ball. Give Cat the ball. Let's see what happens. Put the ball in Cat's hands. And then it slowly started trickling into Jalen Brunson having that mindset. And now Jalen Brunson is a more talented passer and playmaker than Josh Hart and Jose Alvarado. And that's when stuff started taking off. Cat has been so much more intentional with his offensive possessions, and that has to go back to Mike Brown. So my next question to you, KP, is about Mike Brown. Because there's a segment of Knicks fans who still bring up, what'd you call him? The philosopher of Thibodeau?
St. Thomas of Thibodeau.
St. Thomas of Thibodeau. There's a segment of Knicks fans who still want to bring up Coach Thibodeau. I love Coach Thibodeau. I will tip my cap to that man until I no longer can put a hat on my damn head. He deserves the world in New York City for what he helped this franchise accomplish. I was cool with moving on from him. Was Mike Brown my first choice? He was not. I think he was a great choice. I didn't really think so. I think it was a good choice. I did. I didn't love it. I liked it. And let's see what happens. Thought the offense would succeed. Didn't know the defense would turn around the way it did. It did. But yet there's this segment of Knicks fans who will still bring up Tibbs, who still hate Mike Brown, who say he's not the answer. So somebody who's talked to Mike Brown in 20-something press conferences this year, who's asked him questions, who's had dialogue with the guy, how are you feeling about him entering his first playoff as a Knicks coach? And do you feel like the history of Tibbs over the last 4 or 5 years should be even mentioned in a conversation anymore?
I'll start by saying I definitely understand why people bring it up. I think it's reasonable to this day to think it was a mistake to fire Thibodeau. But I would also say that a lot of times when you talk to people who say that, there are some things that are fundamental to their argument that are totally sensible, that totally add up, and are just not accurate. So, like, you understand
truthful,
why?
Is that mean like truthful but irrelevant?
More,
Is that
more
kind of
like, more like they, if they were right, everything they were saying would make sense, and I don't blame them for thinking what they think. But
gotcha?
like, I know they're wrong. And one of those,
I feel like I actually completely agree with you, even though I'm not 100% sure what you mean yet.
one
But
of
I
those
think I agree.
examples, one of those examples is something that I'm open to talking about, which is something I kind of like reported. I really just tweeted it after Thibodeau was fired, but it was that during the Boston series, after the Knicks went up 2-0 in that crazy way, the Knicks front office gently, lightly, kindly, however you want to put it, mildly, suggested to Tom Thibodeau that he change the starting lineup. That 82 plus 6 of Detroit is 88, plus 2 of Boston is 90. That after 90 games of their season, they had enough evidence to say that Mitchell Robinson should start over Josh Hart.
Well, and real quick caveat, Mitchell Robinson didn't come back into the flow until what, 20 games left in the season?
I was going to say game like 55.
Yeah, because he played, I think, in 17, so he probably, missed a couple in between that time. So let's say 20 games left in the season. Mitch came back. Continue.
Yeah, and even with what they had seen in that time, with what they had seen from Josh before then, not just Josh, it's not to blame Josh, it's not to single out Josh, it's the lineup with Josh. The front office told Tom that they should make that change. And part of the reason for that actually ties into the two-man game that we were just talking about. That two-man game, that synergy looks so changed and different when every time that Karl Anthony Towns is guarded by a center, because that's when he is a mismatch. That is when he's a cheat code to creating a quality shot. That is when he is like a free get out of jail free card, but jail meaning like, oh, the defense has them in jail, like that
Right.
kind of get out of jail. Like you won't be in jail ever. You won't struggle completely for 24 seconds to score often at all if Karl Anthony Towns is out there, because 7 feet, can put the ball on the floor, can shoot the three. It's just really hard to stop his team from scoring. You either have to double him and leave someone open. Oh, but you can leave Josh open and not double Carl. And that's where things get tough, is when teams put a wing on Carl, which we know what's Carl's big weakness. Really, like his biggest weakness is his movement,
bulldozing over somebody that he
his,
shouldn't.
and why does he do that? Because he can't decelerate, because
Yeah.
his feet are too big for him. Like his like
He's a
his
size
biggest,
like 22 shoe or something like
it's
that.
insane. And
Yeah.
his biggest weakness all ties to a lack of deceleration, a lack of a super nimble movement or control. Like, he can defend well. He's got good defensive instincts, but a lot of times he will mess up on defense just because he can't. Not that he messed up, but he did get scored on because he didn't move fast enough or far enough or anything in enough time. Like, that is an exploitable flaw, and that is really easy for teams to line up kind of when Josh is out there with him. So that is why Mitchell Robinson, his offensive rebounding, the fact that you need to put bodies on him as an offensive rebounder, that is going to basically negate that advantage for the opposing defenses, or rather just even things out for the Knicks is the easier way to say that, and allow them to create the advantages we know Carl can. That said, Mike has really ridden Josh in that lineup all season. Josh has shot the ball really well. He's had like the best 3-point shooting season of his Knicks career thus far, by far. And the reason for that is because the percentage given the volume has been really amazing. And that's, I think, where some of that synergy between Jalen and Carl is coming from. I also think it shows a bit of just, some time was needed for Mike Brown to level things out. All in all, I think the Knicks are in a good spot. Like, I think Mike Brown did a good job. He was told to come in and make the Knicks better, and they're better on both offense and defense this year. They won the cup. They performed worse, if you want to say, against like tanking teams.
Right.
Like
Against the
last
stupid
year,
teams, for sure.
like
I
last
have the
year.
stats. Wait, you want me actually, I have them right in front of me.
You have the splits? Go for it.
I have the splits right in front. Actually, I know them off the top of my head because I did a whole TikTok on it today. Subway Sports Talk on TikTok. Go follow it.
Thank you.
This year, they were 29 and 23 against teams above 500.
Mm.
Last year, they were 15 and 23 against teams above 500. So for all the people who the Knicks are not better this year versus last year, suck on that. First things first. They played.
That's the exact trade-off they wanted.
They played 14 more teams above 500 this year. That's off rip, right? And then last year this year they were now I'm forgetting under 500. Here it is. They were 24 and 6 against teams below 500. That feels like a good number, but those 6 losses are loud, right? Those are frustrating. Last year they were 36 and 8 against teams below 500. So that split of how many teams they just dominated last year made us all probably feel better as Knicks fans. It's like, oh my God, this team feels like, once, twice a week, they're just blowing somebody out. Isn't that fun? This team's great. They won 51 games. They won more games this year, playing more teams above 500. To me, the argument, if this team is better than last year's team, should stop right there. And if you want to say, oh, the eye test, the eye, whatever, they don't pass the eye test for me, the smell test for me. I don't see it with this team. The consistency just isn't there. It wasn't there last year because they lost 23 games to teams above 500 already, and they won way less.
0-10 to Cavs, Thunder, Celtics.
All the best teams. And you just broke down for a few minutes there perfectly how it took time after a year with a new core with Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges with Tom Thibodeau to say, hey, y'all just made the Eastern Conference Finals. Here's a new coach. That's going to take time. And I think if you try to remember, go back to the first couple weeks of the Knicks season when they were kind of struggling a little bit, but playing fine, whatever. Then they started taking off. There was a lot of moments offensively where I was like, wow, I don't see Brunson get that type of shot. That could be exciting for Mike Brown's offense. And then as the year went on, like you just mentioned, they're better on offense, better on defense. This team on offense for the aggregate of the entire year, 4th best offensive rating. Wow. How about that? Tom Thibodeau, Mr. Defensive Specialist, right? They weren't a good defensive team last year. This year, 7th in the NBA in defensive rating. Net rating in totality, 5th best in the NBA. I mean, I don't know what more the pessimist Knicks fans wanted this year. Did they want them to go out there and win 60? Sure, they could have. You can argue that they should have. But to think that this team isn't better and isn't equipped to make a run similar to last year, I just don't understand it. The team is deeper. We can talk about some of the offshoot guys like Shamit, who was here last year, kind of in and out, and then in the playoffs, and Clarkson, and having a fully healthy Mitchell Robinson. What? Of course. Like, these things truly matter. Deuce McBride is back up and running. He's in all the best lineups from a statistical standpoint. Like, this team is deep. They're going to play 9 guys. And last year, when we complained about Tibbs not pushing any buttons besides the one he knows best, Mike Brown tried all year to push buttons. It's what we all asked for an entire season, where last year we have a memory of Eastern Conference final disappointment, but we had similar issues with this team all regular season, Chris. And I think people just so easily forget that, and why I've been so frustrated. Like, when people are trying to act, and it's Knicks fans, it's our own friends and neighbors and loved ones who are pessimistic about this team. One of my best friends said the Hawks in 6 to me today. It almost sent me up the wall, man. And like,
all right,
I'm just
and then they'll celebrate when that doesn't happen. It's like,
and
I'd love to be wrong. Okay.
for sure. And like, you know what? He has an opinion. He's standing on business. It's Alec Argento. You know, not that you know, but people who listen to Subway Sports Talk might know him. He's on here quite a bit. And I just like, it was fighting words to me. I'm like, how could you possibly say that you think this team is worse than last year? It's better in almost every single way. And I stand on that point, and entering back into the Hawks Knicks conversation here, because I think we have to finally talk some specific matchup concepts and what to expect of the Hawks here a little bit. Like, this series doesn't scare me as much as the Pistons series last year. Ask T.O. Al. I know you were at the FAM. I think you actually produced one of my hits that I did with Al last year. Maybe it was you. I forget if it was you on the other side. It was Fleegs maybe. And Al texted me, yo, come on to talk about the Pistons Knicks. And I was out here hyping up Cade Cunningham. I'm saying, Knicks fans, beware. The Pistons are no joke. Cade might be the best player in this series at some point in time. This is not a series to take lightly. I have 40%, 30% of the nerves I had last year into the Pistons series. Wow. And that's not because the Hawks are bad. It's not because I think Jalen Johnson stinks. I think he's a stud. I think he's on a star trajectory. They're just, to me, not a team that I think particularly is going to push the Knicks to the brinks the way the Pistons did, the way the Celtics can, and the way the Pacers obviously could last year. And that's kind of where I'm at entering this series, Chris.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said earlier, I have the Knicks in 5, but that doesn't mean I think that the Hawks are bad. That doesn't mean I think the Hawks won't put up a fight. That doesn't mean I think there won't be close games in this series. I just think if there are close games, the Knicks will win most of them. I think the one game that the Knicks lose, and Jeremy Cohen of Knicks Film School inspired this take. The Knicks, if they lose one game, I think they lose one game in this series. It will probably be whatever game is early in Atlanta.
The 12:30 start, 2 o'clock
game
start.
3 or 4, whichever one of those games is in Atlanta and early, or maybe game if it goes to game 6, I think that would be a pretty like primetime spot. So I wouldn't be then. Like, I think game 3 or 4, whichever one is in kind of like a weird time slot, Knicks might lose that one, and that might be the only game they lose this series, and then they close it out at home. Game 5 works out for everyone.
Theoretically, it would be game 4, just based off guessing, because game 2 presumably on Monday, then maybe an extra travel day Wednesday or whatever it may be, Thursday, Saturday, or something to that effect. That game 4 would probably be the Saturday game or Sunday game. So it would be game 4 that you're probably calling out here.
Yeah, and that would make sense too. Like, maybe Nikhil drops 29 and 8 assists, or 29 and 11 assists, and CJ McCollum has 24 points, and Onyeka Okongwu has 17 points and a couple 3-pointers. I could see the Hawks winning a fun one at home at State Farm, and then the Knicks winning the other 4. I don't think
I don't think the
diminishing
Knicks
them.
are scared of Atlanta as a venue either. I could actually see, in all reality, the Knicks losing one at home and then kind of getting their ish together and pulling their pants up and
Especially
saying, "We
with the
got
Hawks
this."
being that young, scrappy, maybe it's
Don't
that
know
like
better
game
team.
2 for the Knicks. The Knicks
Yeah,
win game 1. The Knicks cruise a little in the middle of game 1, but end up doing well at the end and winning. So they come out in game 2 and they're like, oh, even if we do
we
kind of
got
mail it
this.
in, we got this, because that's what happened 2 days ago. And
Right.
then they end up not having it because it was too little, too late.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Too.
Yeah. So, and talking about the Hawks specifically here too, because the discourse that's going on with them right now is that Dyson Daniels is going to give Brunson fits, which he absolutely will for portions of games. 100%. I think that's fair to say. Dyson Daniels deserves that kind of credit. And then Jalen Johnson's, star trajectory, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and hit what he's kind of turned into this season, and then CJ and Kuminga being like some of the other scoring punches, right? Jalen Johnson is the interesting one to me, KP. Do you see him as a guy who's ready to show up in this playoff, and whether they win, lose, blowout, or tight every game, do you expect him to be a guy at the end of it to say, oh my God, he is not only here, but he's here, right? Do you think he has that sort of potential in this series?
No. And
Okay. Yeah.
that is disappointing to say, because I like Jalen Johnson and I think he's super talented, and I'm a sucker for any big forward that has passing chops. I just
Yeah,
always
me
think
too.
that's dope. So I don't like having that opinion, but that definitely is my opinion, and there are 2 reasons for it. Um, and I don't think saying reason number 1 before tonight, I'm not saying reason, whichever one I pick to be reason number 1 is not a bigger reason, or I'll say they're equal, right? But reason number 1, Jalen Johnson is young. This is his first playoff series ever as the number 1 on a team in the pecking order. I still think that number 1 ends up shaking out as CJ McCollum, because Jalen Johnson ends up turning the ball over a bit too much. But this is Jalen Johnson's first playoff series as the number 1 on a team. And the New York Knicks, while they may not have 8 guys out there that can jump out the gym, and they may not be the 2019 Raptors with regard to having guys 1 through 10 be plus defenders in the rotation, but the Knicks and the ways that they are good, they are the gadget, crafty receiver, not the big 6'4" possession receiver. They are the skill and brain team, not the brawn and grit team anymore. And so I think their defense and their execution on defense, and the way that guys like Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby process the defensive end of the floor is going to be hell for Jalen Johnson. I think he'll probably average something like 24, 10, and 6 in the 5 games on like 40% shooting if he wants, or he can shoot like 48, 50% from the floor, but only average like, 18 points a game, and CJ does a little more scoring, or I think that's probably more likely, is that Jalen Johnson averages like 17 points, 18 points,
Right.
10, 11 rebounds, 5 or 6 assists, but also,
Which
does
would
it on like,
which would be like below his regular season averages for this year.
yep.
And if you talk about him specifically on percentage wise, you just brought it up. He was only like a 48, 49% field goal shooter this year in the regular season.
And here's the second reason why he's going to struggle.
35%. Okay, there you go. Continue then.
OG Anunoby is perfect against any forward or wing who gets theirs from 2-point range. And that is both Jalen Johnson and John Kuminga. This is just a bad matchup for the Hawks. OG Anunoby is a bad matchup for the Hawks with how their guys like to get theirs. So Jalen Johnson is going to be made uncomfortable by OG Anunoby, of all people, made to get buckets in ways that he's not necessarily used to or comfortable getting buckets. He's still capable of getting those buckets. He will still get those buckets. He'll get a lot of assists too if he gets into a packed paint. But how many threes are the Hawks going to make off of those passes? How much is Jalen Johnson going to convert at the rim on OG and get a whistle? This is going to be 118 Knicks, 106 Hawks, game 1 and game 3 and 4 and 5.
And that exact score on DraftKings is no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Jalen Johnson, all-star season. He only played 9 minutes per game in his 6 playoff appearances in his last playoff at 21 years old. So now he's 23, 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to obviously be relied upon heavily, and he has to be. And I'm just not betting on him to be a superstar today. I actually will bet on him to be a superstar in the next 3 years. Sure. Wow. But not today. I think he's a perennial all-star type of guy. I think he's a guy who's going to find his way onto some all-NBA teams over the next 4 years, 5 years, whatever it may be, but not yet. And that makes a big difference. And I think, go ahead.
I love that he can create when his shot is not falling.
Yeah. I mean, 8 assists this year at 24 years old.
But how often is his shot falling?
It hasn't been. He's a career 33% 3-point shooter, and this year he was 35, which is his best mark.
So he's money from inside the arc, which is exactly where OG is going to thrive against it. And then you're like, oh, OG he can't be in the whole game. Yes, but you know who can come in when he sits? Mitchell Robinson.
And Mikal Bridges.
And they can well. Jalen is going to take Mikal to the rim without much resistance.
Physicality-wise,
Malik Beasley last year in the first round walked Mikal to the rim. It's actually embarrassing. If you Google my name to this day, one of the top results
I'm going to do it.
A viral Reddit post of me frying Mikal Bridges for getting walked to the rim over and over again by Malik Beasley. And it's like, I've never seen Kris Pursiainen. And then it's like,
here
explain.
Yeah, here it is. So respectfully to you, all your great work, your Twitter, your Instagram, go follow it. Your Clutch Points profile, your Daily Knicks profile, all come up first. Your LinkedIn, shout out to the profesh. And then the first media based link is the exact Reddit post that you're talking about. That's so good. And you didn't even post it. Look at that. Somebody posted it of your tweet.
I don't post my own tweets on Reddit. I'm not
actually, it would get flagged. They're very, very strict about that type of stuff.
Good. AstroTurfers stink. But
that's so funny. But wait, hold on. Let me say this about Mikal Bridges to give him a little bit of credit here. Does it ever feel like
he deserves
he
credit?
Is better against the Celtics than he is against every other team? I swear he's more impactful when they play the Celtics than when they play the Brooklyn Nets.
Adrian Wojnarowski, I'm pretty sure, said when the Knicks acquired Mikal Bridges that it was to match Tatum and Brown.
Well, that was the whole thing. That was
OG and Bridges.
That's what we were sold as Knicks fans, right? We are building this team to beat the Celtics. And then this team beat the Celtics. They weren't built to beat the Thunder and Pacers, who, believe it or not, whether you want to hear it or not, play similarly. Obviously I'm talking about last year's Pacers, not this year. They have a similar style, very physical, willing to pick you up full court, move the ball like crazy. Even though the Thunder have SGA and the Pacers don't have a scorer like that, offensively, they are sharing the sugar, spreading the wealth. The Celtics played a specific style, and the Knicks were built to beat it, and they did. And I actually think, and I'll say this right now on wax, on record. I always used to laugh when Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, I'm going to go on record right now. Meanwhile, they were on live TV. Everything you're saying is on record, sir. But I'm going on record, KP. The Knicks have the best chance out of any team in the East to beat the Celtics. Do you agree or disagree?
Sure, I agree. The reason
I'm not saying the chance is great. I'm just saying it's better than the East.
No, I think the Knicks would beat the Celtics. I think the Knicks will make the finals, and I think they'll lose. And I think they'll lose to the Thunder there. The reason I had pause was because I wanted to think: do the Cavaliers with the Mobley Allen front court present a tougher matchup to Boston given Vucevic's physical limitations. What Mobley can do, he's a little more nimble than Cat, right? He's a little more So I was thinking maybe is that technically a worse matchup, but then
And
I
remember
thought
James Harden was on their team.
no,
Once the
I
playoffs.
Now, see, I'm a James Harden guy, so
Dude,
you're not gonna get
same.
you're not gonna get me.
Same. I'm also, I swear to God, even despite my comment, I'm also a James Harden guy. I promise, but his playoff stuff is getting pretty hard to defend.
I think him and Donovan Mitchell is like Spider-Man meme at this point. Like I saw a tweet the other day, and it was like, again, this is so NBA fan because these are the same people that called DeMar DeRozan bad for being
Carson
one
Breber.
of the leading scorers ever. But
I like Carson Breber. He's got a lot of good stuff.
That comment was not great from it.
It wasn't great.
And I just like, you look at Jalen, you look at Brunson, you look at SGA, you look at like the guys who are top scorers, and I don't know. I honestly, I think I just want to sum up by saying Knicks in 5 because the Hawks will not. They're not going to win. That's not happening. I can't. I just can't. I can't see it.
After an hour of discourse, that was perfectly said.
and after that, it really is a bit of a crapshoot. So Cavs, Knicks, Celtics. There's a little bit of rock paper scissors going on. I think like
Pistons.
Okay,
no, go ahead. I'm gonna let you cook. I just wanted
to. I like them. I like them. They're fun. They deserve our respect. They deserve our.
Cade's health is withstanding still, obviously as well. So
yeah, I was out on them in the playoffs before anything with his health, just because the way the NBA is right now, no team gets through with the one guy build, literally, unless you're SGA. And the one guy build there isn't
their whole team is kind of nasty.
Well, so offensively, not so much, right?
Sure.
I think SGA is underrated, and part of the reason for it is because people assume that because the Thunder have so many good players that they're better than they are on offense. And I don't think people properly analyze the extent to which he carries their offense. Like,
he's so consistent. It's insane.
He is the reason that these other guys on the Thunder can even score the way they do is because they're playing 4-on-3.
Yeah.
The whole time.
You're right.
So
Caruso gets, I mean, obviously he's not a great shooter, but he just gets the most wide open threes of all time.
Because it's
like, all right, like Isaiah Joe's over there. We're going to stay by him. Jalen Williams is right here. We're going to stay by him. And the rest of you are going to pay attention to Shea. And then there's Caruso
like Chet, we have
even
to
Lou Dort, who has good shooting numbers.
Teams let him fire away.
Yeah. And he'll make you pay every once in a while. Absolutely. He can shoot the thing, but it's like, we're going to let Lou Dort shoot this because otherwise SG might get 50.
Right. That's the thing is Lou Dort doesn't, it's not that Lou Dort is bad. It's that that's genuinely the best outcome for the defense. Right? Like, if you have to either write a 5-page essay, a 6-page essay, a 7-page essay, an 8-page essay, or a 9-page essay, the 5-page essay isn't easy. It still stinks. It's just the best choice in front of you. Lou Dort will make you pay. Caruso will make you pay. Just often enough to where you're kept honest. You do send a guy back over to kind of stop him from firing away because he's hot. And now SGA's one-on-one with McHale. And it's like, well, McHale is really good. But if McHale was Scottie Pippen, SGA is probably going to score and one here. So that is tough for us. That's it. So I think after that first round, I think the Knicks do fare well. I think they would make the NBA Finals if they stayed healthy. And I think they can beat the Spurs or the Nuggets in a final series. Doesn't mean they will. I think they could. But
I don't particularly well against the Nuggets over
against both teams. Yeah, they beat the Spurs in the Cup and they beat them by 25 at home. But they lost on New Year's Eve, and that kind of started that slump you referenced earlier, where they won 2 of 11 games. But other than the other 2 games, they look good, and The Spurs won like 18 games in a row, except for their 25-point blowout against the hands of the Knicks. So, like, I think the Knicks could beat either of those teams. The Thunder, I would have the Thunder in 6, and I think the Thunder probably make it out of the West because did you see how the seeding played out there?
Yeah.
Denver
Well,
and San Antonio are one of them is going to knock the other one out before the conference
and it'll
finals.
probably be a bloodbath as well.
And then the Thunder gets whoever limps out of that series. They get to go play OKC.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Congratulations.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
All right, this is perfect timing. We're at an hour and 10. We've hit up to 180 plus in the Twitter on live, in and out, people hopping in and out saying what up. So shout out to y'all popping in to the live on Twitter. Kris Pursiainen from Clutch Points and Knicks Daily, myself, obviously Subway Sports Talk. Follow him on Twitter and everywhere. Follow Subway Sports Talk on TikTok and Twitter and everywhere. Let's put a bow in Knicks Hawks and then just rapid fire the other series that we know. Also, since we've been recording, the Hornets did finish out the Heat there.
LaMelo redemption. He screwed up and then he unscrewed up.
Yeah, and that was an overtime game. I'm a little sad that I wasn't able to be locked into it because we were having so much fun here on this pod, but I'm having more fun than watching a playing game.
And Bam was out, and the Heat held on, which is pretty impressive.
Classic Heat, though, right? Classic Heat to kind of just like hang on. And as Bill Simmons says, the zombie Heat, right? So let's put a bow in Knicks Hawks here. Obviously, you already said Knicks in 5. I said Knicks in 6. Let's go with X Factor here. And when we play X Factor here, Chris, I don't want to hear about Jalen Brunson. I honestly kind of don't. No. I don't want to hear about Jalen Brunson. That's the only person I don't want to hear about in this X Factor conversation from you in this series. On the Hawks front, I don't think they have one player who is so consistently great to take anyone out of their X Factor conversation. So everyone on the table for the Hawks, Jalen Brunson off the table for the Knicks. Who is your X Factor in this series against the Atlanta Hawks?
For the Knicks, I'm going to go Mitchell Robinson.
Sorry, for both.
For the Knicks, I'm going to go Mitchell Robinson because while Karl-Anthony Towns should feast, while OG Anunoby should feast relatively on the defensive end, while Mikal Bridges should be able to kind of pick and choose, and thrive in certain spots. The guy who's going to consistently thrive in his minutes, regardless of who needs to consistently thrive in his minutes, regardless of what kind of defensive attention he's getting, is Mitchell Robinson, particularly on the offensive glass. So if he can do that, it doesn't matter who the Hawks choose to double team or not. It doesn't matter who the Hawks choose to leave open or not. Because if Mitch is getting the Knicks all those second chances, they're probably going to end up scoring more points than the Hawks. That feels safe to say. On the Hawks side,
wait, I'll do my Knicks first, and then you do your Hawks. I was also going to pick Mitch for the record, so I'm not going to do that since you already hit all the points. I'll just add that I think people will be reminded this playoff how impactful he's been in each playoff game that he's been available for. Whether it was the Sixers 2 years ago, whether it was the Pacers before he got banged up, whether it was the Celtics last year or the Pistons last year, he is an absolute difference maker in the playoffs. And it's the Cavs 4 years ago. All of these things have proven out. He dominated them and little boyed them 4 years ago. He's better today than he was then, for the record. My X Factor for the Knicks, I'm going to use OG Anunoby because in the world of offense for the New York Knicks, we've talked a lot about Brunson and a lot about Cat. There's a lot of discourse all year about Mikal this, Mikal that, what he doesn't do and what he might do. OG sneakily has put together one of his best seasons of his career. He has been incredibly consistent offensively. I think you could argue he's been the third most consistent scorer for this team behind Brunson and Cat, and the numbers obviously relate to that. But obviously on the defensive side, can he take on Jalen Johnson? We both think he can. Can he switch on to Kuminga? Yes, he can. Can he take Nickeil Alexander-Walker? I think he could also give him some fits if Alexander Walker is trying to get busy. So he has a lot on his plate in this whole postseason, starting off with this Hawks series, obviously, offensively and defensively. If he's going to hit some jumpers, if he's going to be able to attack the rim like he has so well this year, and then do what he does on defense, he could be a very, very unsung hero, an X factor, if you will, for the Knicks.
Love it. I have a tweet about OG, and I reference it every once in a while. And the Hawks are a team that might ruin it. So this is going to be something to watch. which is I tweeted the Knicks need to have an assistant coach whose job it is just to watch the court and have like a little flag they raise up or something when OG Anunoby is the most athletic, most physical player on the court. Because there are some games I remember, particularly one against the Miami Heat last season. I remember this season a couple Nets, a couple that I referred to. When he realizes he's the most athletic and most physical guy on the court, he just starts playing 2K. Like he just keeps going to the rim and dunking. And no one's gonna stop him. Or he draws fouls. Like it just happens. It just keeps going that way. The Hawks, Kuminga and Jalen Johnson, I don't know how often that assistant coach would be able to hold up that flag, like that go flag, you know, that just go to the rim every time. Jalen Brunson will be okay. He'll realize that's good offense. Like we're fine. I don't know. The Hawks will have some physicality, so I'm interested to see. You know, does OG kind of get not shunned, but does he almost get like forced a little bit into
stopper mode,
into stopper mode and into the corner offensively?
Yeah, that's a good point because if he is tasked and like Kuminga and Johnson are cooking, it's kind of like AOG. We kind of need you to really, really lock in over here on defense. And we'll see what happens on offense. You know what I mean? So we'll see if he can bounce it out.
You know, the dunks and like the easy stuff he'll get, but they might not be too worried about, you know, getting him to create the ISO mid range.
Right. Wait, that little like he loves, by the way, a pump fake hezzy no dribble shot. Do you ever notice this? He's one of the only players who likes it. He gets the ball in the triple threat. He'll pump fake. He'll kind of just jab a couple times and then just shoot. He doesn't have to dribble step back. He'll occasionally dribble step back from midi. He doesn't do it from three very often. He just pumps, stands there, and just like, I'm going to shoot now.
Rises up. Yeah.
He's one of the only guys that I feel like who does that. It's just kind of funny. Real quick before you give your Hawks X Factor, since I just gave an update maybe 5 minutes ago, we're now over 300 people who have popped in and out of the Twitter live here. Shout out to any new listeners. Kris Pursiainen, hit us with your Hawks X Factor for this series.
What's going on, everyone? And I think it feels like a cheat, but I am, you know, we did just give credit to Kuminga. I think Jalen Johnson should be disqualified from being the X Factor.
Okay.
I think that's fair to say. And
I was going to say it's his first real playoff series. Maybe not, but I respect that.
Right.
That.
So like to me, that's like the easy is like, you know,
it's too obvious.
He's the X Factor because if he can shake off the first playoff jitters, then they'll be good. It's like, well, they could actually still lose in five. I don't know. To me, the X Factor is CJ McCollum. And here's why. I was not alive for this. All right. So I don't.
What are you about to say to me right now?
I wasn't there, but I have read in books about John Starks.
Okay.
And how sometimes he could kind of be so set on being the guy to want to lift the Knicks out of a rut that he kept them in it. He was so set on shooting his way out of a shooting slump that he kept himself in the shooting slump as opposed to feeding open teammates or whatever. There was a quote like someone saying Starks was the best player for the other team in a playoff series. That the series where he really had, I think that was a Pacers. He had some really famous,
really bad shooting performances.
Like 1 of 8, whatever it was. If that happens with CJ McCollum, where the Knicks really, really bully Jalen Johnson physically, and they do body up, and OG does body up on him, and the offense is like, yeah, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you want to score 40 points again every game? Go ahead. And then he's like, okay, where's the veteran ball handler? CJ, you go drive and make something happen. And what if CJ, what if what CJ keeps making happen is contested mid-range pull-ups? That's not super good for the Hawks. So if that happens, I could see this series being a sweep. I could see things going really poorly for Atlanta. I think CJ is above that, and I think he's the most slept on player in this series after Jalen Brunson, because somehow there are people saying Jalen. I don't want to be like they told me Steph couldn't shoot thing where it's like, okay, whoever you're listening to is dumb. But like, I do think there's been enough discourse about Jalen Brunson to say that, like, you know, even if it's obvious he's the best player in this series, there are some people that are still, they think that he has to go out and look like it for that to be true. So, okay, you know, let him go do that. CJ McCollum, though, for the Hawks, he's going to be in a similar kind of role. He's not the same kind of player, but he's going to be in a similar kind of role. Score first, but also the offense doesn't run unless you're setting guys up. So you
Right.
kind of do have to find that balance. And that's going to be important for him. And, you know, CJ was on a team for most of his career with a ball dominant guard. He really had to pick and choose his spots. Now he has to feed other guys their spots
Yeah.
while also keeping the defense honest, making sure that he's getting his and keeping the offense churning. So, you know, I can like romanticize CJ McCollum's involvement in the Hawks offense all day, but
Right.
in summary, he's really important for what they do, especially because of Jalen Johnson's inexperience. You know, with a young quarterback, fantasy football players all know whenever there's a young quarterback, you keep an eye out for their tight end, right?
Right.
Because under pressure, you know, who did they look for that safety valve? They look for that. My big tight end is open right in front of me. I'm gonna just dump it there. Maybe that's CJ for Jalen Johnson.
I like that. I like that a lot. And to go on that point for two more quick ones, I think it's important to note, and this goes for the Knicks and the Hawks and a lot of teams who have played well in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks. The Hawks went 11-0 against teams under 500 since the All-Star break. That's a great
Mhm.
number. You want to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. That's wonderful. But some of these things that have been so wonderful about CJ's involvement in this new offense for the Hawks have been a lot against pretty bad teams who want to lose. And that's true for other teams. It's not just like specific to them, but this is new as well. Like this is not like CJ's been there for 2 or 3 years. This is new
Right.
on top of, yes, they beat some good teams. I think they were 8-6 against teams above 500 since the All-Star break. So like respectfully, very good, very cool. All that stuff's awesome. However, you didn't go out there and knock out like all the best teams and do this for 2 years together. This is still very new for CJ and this team. And then on top of that, being a point guard is relatively new to CJ McCollum, right? Like he's been a two, like you said, for most of his career. For the past few years, he's kind of had to dabble more into that point guard facilitator role, and he's done it well with some success and whatnot. But when it's relied upon, it's why the Rockets felt so gutted by losing Fred Van Fleet. Is it because Fred Van Fleet was like a surefire all-star point guard? No, but he was the organizer. So CJ has to be the organizer, but also probably has to score a good deal for the Hawks to be successful. My X factor for the Hawks, I'm going to cop out a little bit because I'm going to say the centers, but I guess I'll mostly talk about Okongwu.
I was gonna, yeah, Yak, man.
So Moge obviously has had some really nice moments this year. He's an athletic dude who can do some good things, etc. Okongwu, similarly. Okongwu, his X factor specifically is twofold. One, is he going to get hot from three and hit a bunch of threes? He can do that. Knicks fans may have not watched him,
He
may have not seen that. You may not check the basketball reference. Okongwu can shoot threes. If you played with him in 2K 2 years ago when he was a rookie, you didn't know that. He know it. He can
he
shoot
went
the three.
nuts this year against the Knicks from three.
Yeah, true. So maybe the Knicks fans do have an
There was
idea.
like a 2 game stretch. Obviously, the Hawks played more than 2 games against the Knicks this year, but
Right.
in 2 of those games, he was like 9 of 15 from three over the two. It was something like genuinely silly. If you look
And,
up Onyeka Okongwu versus Knicks 2026, you will find the 2 games I'm talking about. He was like 6 of 9 in one of them. He genuinely tweaked. Like
yeah,
they wouldn't guard him.
and that's been like a thorn in the side of the Knicks defense over the past few years. Like you just have images of Miles Turner last year, just like he's
Yes.
wide open again. And sometimes he hit and it was dangerous for the Knicks. And then sometimes he missed and it worked out okay. Okongwu took 5 threes a game this year. He's going to let them fly. And if those guys like CJ, Naw, Jalen Johnson, Kuminga are getting into the paint, that could be good because he could also rim run. He could also catch a lob, etc. The other X factor, though, which I think will be a bigger negative for the Hawks and a positive for the Knicks, can those centers hang with Mitch and Cat? And I said Mitch and Cat because Mitch on the offensive boards will change series. Okongwu and Gay have to rebound the ball for the Hawks to be successful in this series. And those guys are, again, athletic dudes. Okongwu in 31 minutes averaged 7.5 rebounds. It's not exactly prime Kevin Love out there on the boards. And obviously, you got a guy like Jalen Johnson who's racking up 10 boards a game. That's taking up a lot of oxygen in the rebounding game for this team. but it's just something that's very important to keep an eye on because I think one of the Knicks' biggest strengths in a playoff series is Mitch and Cat on the glass.
I was gonna say they have a Mitch.
Yeah, like we got a Mitch. It's exactly that's a perfect way to say it. Like we got a Hulk, we got a Mitch on the boards. And can those bigs actually take that away from the Knicks? I don't think so, but if they do, it'll certainly be an X factor in the series.
100%.
So, final predictions, Chris. We already said it. We have a bunch of new people in here checking out Subway Sports Talk. So, give your prediction one more time, and we'll do rapid fire throughout the rest of the league and say goodbye.
Yeah, I've got the Knicks in 5 in this series, and like I said to start the show, um, that is not meant to discredit the Hawks. That is not meant to counter or disprove any of the following statements. The Hawks should be proud of their season. The Hawks have many young players that are promising. The Hawks should be proud of the way that their team plays because to sustain that kind of play, I'm not talking about quality. I'm talking about style and themes of their play to maintain and sustain that kind of play over 48 minutes and over a full season is really physically demanding of guys. So they're bought in. That means Hawk fans should be proud of their coach too and proud of their
Yes.
players. And none of that is false because I predict the Knicks in 5. I just happen to think the Knicks are the best team in the Eastern Conference, point blank, period.
Mm,
And that shouldn't mean that whoever they happen to beat in the first round should like disband their organization and fold because they lost in the first round to a team that I think is going to make the finals. That's just I didn't think the Hawks were going to make a deep run this year. I did think they could win a first round series against certain teams, maybe like Detroit with Cade maybe not being healthy to start a series, and
mm,
Atlanta starts out up a couple games. Maybe the Hawks could win a series. I'm not trying to say this team is incapable, but I would think the most truthful Hawk fans are proud of their team, regardless of how many playoff series they would win and
right.
that they're not expecting them to win any more than one if they're expecting them to win one playoff series. It's just not where the team is right now. And let me tell you, they're in great position
They're great
to
position.
be in a spot to where they can expect more than one or expect a playoff series win and then eventually expect more than one playoff series win.
Right.
Um, but like right now, you said it really, really well earlier, Pete, which was like the Knicks have accrued some of the scars that help define and qualify a team to be a contender. The Hawks
Mm,
don't have a single. These Hawks don't have a
right.
single one. They
Right.
are a brand new car, and as beautiful as that car is, you wonder how well the driver knows how to drive if they've
Mm,
never ever even gotten a little scratch. It's like did you just get it behind the wheel for the first time in your life or
right.
did you really just never get in an accident all these years? Are you that good of a driver? I think the Hawks just got behind the wheel. I think the reason that the Hawks haven't had a gut-wrenching playoff series loss is because this version of this Hawks team was put together 2 months ago. So like
That's
I
true.
can't I
Yeah.
it's not really possible for them to have crashed the car yet, right? But like I
They're
remember
hardly out
saying
of the lot.
I remember saying the Thunder would lose to the Mavericks because they didn't have enough battle scars yet. And then PJ Washington made a quadrillion threes, which is a
Right.
real number, by the way.
Yeah.
And that series went that way. And it wasn't an indictment on the Thunder, who went on to literally be champions.
Right.
But
The
I have
next
the
the
Knicks in
next
five.
year.
I have the Knicks in 5, mostly for that reason, because this is going to be one of the battle scars that could eventually help define the Hawks as a gritty winning team. But for right now, they're a gritty, fun team. And that's
Yes.
really good. And their fans should be proud of that. But one of the biggest things that NBA fans end up unfortunately learning and facing come playoff time is that fun does not always mean good.
Perfectly said. And I'll add by saying shout out to Lou Williams. Obviously, Hawks standout was on the Hawks team that beat the Knicks in the playoffs 4 years ago. Lou Will is on a TV or streaming talk show now. He was talking about this series, and one of his main points was that the Hawks are playing with house money, and that was a positive for the Hawks. That they're playing with house money, they got nothing to lose. They're going to go out there not knowing any better with a chance to win and punch the Knicks in the mouth. That is true. But my counter is if that is the crux of your argument as to why a team should win, I don't think you have a great argument. And that's kind of where I'm at. What does pedigree mean to me? Pedigree means talent and reputation. Right now, the Knicks have better talent, and the reputation is that they've been into deep playoff runs 3 years in a row. And if you count the insanely different core, the last time the Knicks and Hawks played in the playoffs 4 years ago, Mitch was the only person on that Knicks team who's still in the Knicks, and he didn't play in that series because he was hurt.
Taj is still in the league, though.
Shout out to Taj. He's still in the league,
And he wants to play another year. You see that?
How about that? So at the end of the day, the Knicks have more talent. They are a deeper team. They are a team with more experience. And I think that will be the deciding factor. I have Knicks in 6. I will have anxiety watching every game. And I can't wait for the anxiety. I can't wait for the ups and downs. I can't wait for the Knicks to lose a game, whether it be game 1, 2, 3, or 4 for the first time in the series, and Knicks fans to have a panic attack and say that we suck and we're overrated. But when they win, you'll have a bunch of, I don't want to say bandwagon, we'll have a bunch of specific types of Knicks fans outside MSG,
maybe
side talk type fans. You know what I'm saying? They'll be out there screaming crazy stuff. And I will just leave it with this. I don't want to hear about Trae Young in this series. I don't think Hawks fans want to hear about Trae Young in this series. So Knicks fans, just leave him out of it. Leave it out of it. Like, come on, let's move on. 4 years ago, he's not on the team. It was so embarrassing. It would be like a game against the Mavericks in game 32 of the season, and you're walking down MSG stairs to get out of there, and they're doing F Trae Young. Just get it out. Get it out. I don't want to see it. New Hawks team, new Knicks team, exciting series. It's going to be fun. Knicks in 6. Not a very close 6, but anxiety-inducing 6.
You know what's funny about those chants, though, right? Is they are Altuve's fault. So
that is fair. Very fair. All right, Kris Pursiainen is here. Clutch Points, Knicks Daily. He be writing. He be saying stuff that's really smart all the time, and especially if you've been listening for the last hour and a half, you know that already. So follow the man. Follow Subway Sports Talk if you don't already, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. Over 400 people have tapped in on Twitter.
I was gonna say the TikTok is where people should be running to. I feel like,
yeah, thank you.
I feel like the way I'd sell your TikTok if I were you, and maybe I don't know how good of marketing this is, but it's like, if I can't touch my phone for like 2 minutes, I don't know if there's a better like talk to have on than just you like yapping about something. Like because you can't scroll. Like, it's like, I don't want
you're like taking a pee, the phone's on the sink.
I don't want a funny 20-second video on loop. I don't want a funny 1 minute stand-up bit on loop, because then I hear it 3 times. I don't want, it's like, I want like a slightly longer video where I'm cleaning my room or I'm folding clothes or going to whatever it is. Like, I'm not going to touch my phone. It's like the podcast of TikTok, I feel like, is like how I would sell.
I appreciate that.
So I actually genuinely like your page. So I will gladly say that, because I mean it, as opposed to like making up nice things. Like, I feel like those people on like books where it's like riveting. It's like, you didn't read a page of that. Like,
you read the back cover and the cliff notes.
Yes.
At best. Yeah, TikTok is fun, and I do post more on TikTok than any other socials, just because it feels right on there sometimes. Like, I made a TikTok. I did one of your less favorite types, a 15-second quick hitter earlier today. I was walking my dog, something popped in the head. Boom, one shot, post. Like, I love that. But then I also try to do that 45 to a minute 20. Let's talk about this.
I love it.
Two things can be true in this life, Chris. That's one of my favorite tropes. 2 things can be true. The Hawks can be a good team and a good story with a bright future. Also true. The Knicks are better right now and should win this series in 5 or 6 games. Boom. Put a pin in it, and then we'll move on to the rest of the series across the NBA right here on Subway Sports Talk. Rapid fire. KP. Do you like KP? I've thrown that out a couple times. Are you pro, anti?
I've been KP since middle school, which I realize now is like maybe not that long. So that was like,
wait. That's a great point, because when you said before, you were talking about CJ McCollum, and then you said, I wasn't alive for this. I was so nervous because, again, we're pretty close in age, but there's just enough gap where, like, you could have said, and I don't know, my brain wasn't really braining, like, I wasn't alive when CJ McCollum hit the big shots against Duke for Lehigh.
Lehigh
as a 15 seed. But
I wasn't watching basketball then.
You were alive though, because I'm like, you're 20 something years old. I'm not going to give your age away here, but
no, I'm 20. I turned 24 in like 3 weeks.
There you go. 24. I'm like, wait, CJ's not that old. He's not going to say that. I just like panicked for a second, and I'm glad that that's not the
No,
case.
Starks was what I wasn't alive
Yeah.
for.
All right. Rapid fire. We're going to do this in a semi little draft way where basically like you say a series that you're interested in, quick take. I say a series I'm interested in, quick take, boom, boom, boom. We'll say the ones that we know, obviously, because the 7-8s are not fully finished yet. So KP, you're the guest. Give me your first interesting series that you want to drop a quick take on.
The best series of the first round period is Wolves Nuggets. And the Nuggets are largely favored to win for good reason. But assuming Anthony Edwards, like I don't, right? But that should easily be the best series of the first round, just all things considered. So am I expecting the Nuggets to win? Yes, but I'm looking forward to that one, and particularly I'm looking forward to what the Timberwolves struggle with, because that might give us some sort of idea of what they might be doing in the next coming years. I don't know that Randall, Gobert, and Reed, I don't know that all three of those guys are long for that roster. Conversely, all three of those guys might be long for that roster, because I don't know who's breaking down the door to trade for Randall or Gobert at this stage in their careers, given their contracts. And then shouldn't the Wolves want to hold on to Reed? So it's like, does Reed become like the necessary sacrifice, or is he too good? You have to keep him. So I'm very interested by the Wolves. They have an amazing player in Anthony Edwards, and they act like it. Like, they make aggressive moves.
Back-to-back conference finals for the Timberwolves, by the way.
And
just to add out there.
They make mistakes, and they trade future first-round picks to draft Rob Dillingham top 7, and then they trade him for nothing 2 years later. But then they get Ayo Dosunmu for another bunch of more picks. Well, for more picks, and technically they traded 2 first-round picks for Ayo if you count the Rob. They traded Rob.
Oh, yeah, true. If you count Rob.
They traded Rob for him. Yeah. And they traded 2 first-round picks for Rob, and then used a first-round pick to draft him. So the opportunity cost was 3 first-round picks. Listen, they paid the piper for Ayo Dosunmu, but they never stopped. They never gave up. They kept wheeling. They kept dealing until something worked out. I'm very interested in that team.
They seem like they know if they take their foot off the gas, they can lose Ant, and that is their franchise. It's kind of like the Bucks right now. The Bucks took all these swings to try to stay competitive with Giannis. A lot of them in the last few years didn't work out. Probably first and foremost, Chris Middleton's health didn't work out, because if Chris Middleton remained Chris Middleton for like 2 more years, the Bucks might have another ring. That's how good Chris Middleton was. But the Bucks kept their foot on the gas. They misfired, and look where they are now. The Timberwolves have to keep their foot on the gas, even with a misfire as a possible risk, because what's the alternative? Losing Ant anyway. So you have to put the foot to the pedal to the metal. I love that series. I hope Ant's healthy. I, as a Jokic guy, am rooting for the Nuggets to make a deep run here, because I just want to see the guy who I believe is the best player on the planet. SGA, I think, is the MVP and has been the best player this year. I still just want to give Jokic best player on the planet title. That series is going to be awesome. I think if it's not awesome, it's going to be because the Nuggets route them and Ant's not fully Ant. That would be the outcome of that. But I'm excited for that. Timberwolves have had a lot of success against Denver in the past 2 years. So that'll be extremely interesting. All right, I'll go next. What do we have here? We have Hornets are in, or the Hornets now play. No, the Hornets have to play the winner of Sixers Magic. So we don't know any of those yet. Okay. I'll go Lakers Rockets for one reason that I feel like I don't watch ESPN. I'm sure they're saying it on there. People aren't really talking about it, but is there a chance, Chris, even like an inkling of an opportunity for LeBron James? I don't know if you know who that is. Have you ever heard of him? You ever heard of LeBron? He's the best player of our lifetime, right? Is there a chance at 41 years old that he can do something so special to knock off the Rockets in the first round, with maybe Reeves in like game 2 or 3 or 4, and probably not Luka at all? If that happens, that is a absolute highlight of this playoff already. Even just one series win, with LeBron turning back the clock and saying, hey, Game 62, getting out of bed, pretty rough. Getting out of bed, pretty rough for playoff games, but I'm turning the hell up in here. Like, can he do it? And I'm intrigued to see it. And the Rockets this year, their one thing that they can't quite figure out is clutch time offense. They are falling apart in the end of fourth quarters. Can Kevin Durant versus LeBron James be interesting? I am sat. I am ready. I'm excited. And I want to see if LeBron at 41 can do something extra special.
I love it. I think the angle I thought about right away is obviously we have Warriors Clippers play-in.
Yeah.
But
That's
that
pretty good.
is that's more of like a one-off kind of situation. So is this the last series we're ever going to get with two or more of Kawhi, Steph, KD, LeBron? Because I think Kawhi is
Wow.
often left out as
Right. He's
like
in that ilk.
defining that generation, but to me, he's right there with KD. It's like LeBron, Steph, KD, Kawhi. And so those four, again, I know the play-in will have two of them.
Right.
It's just Steph and Kawhi, but a full series. Is this the last series? Maybe this is definitely actually the last playoff series we get where two of those players are facing off as their team's top option.
Right.
Right?
Because LeBron isn't the top option, but he is right now.
He is right now.
Yes.
And if this happens again next year, maybe it's Steph going up against
Durant or Kawhi.
Durant. So maybe this happens one more time.
Could
but
be.
what if they don't match up in the postseason?
Right.
Right? What if they're the 7th and 8th seed? And
yeah, it's not exactly a lock for them to play each other in the
right. So
playoffs.
This is probably the last series where two of Steph, KD, LeBron, Kawhi are facing off against each other as the head of their team. And
as leading men.
Yeah. And this is really awesome for me personally. And this will scare you and date me and you and whatever. But the first NBA finals I have any recollection of in my life whatsoever is KD versus LeBron.
Wow.
Thunder Heat.
Wow, 2011.
So
right,
2011, 12, right?
2012.
The 11-12 was Dirk.
It was the 11-12 season.
11 was Dirk Mavs. So 11-12, and then they put KD, D Rose, Blake on the 2K cover into 12-13, and like then we went into Spurs Heat, WWE WrestleMania 4-part.
Epic time. And what a great time to become a fan of basketball, by the way.
Right.
I was a senior in high school for that series in particular. First Take was at its all-time peak at the time.
Kellerman, Smith.
No, that was Smith and Skip. That was pre-Kellerman. That was like peak. That was like when that was before that format was truly popular. So it was still new and it was on fire and it was like must-watch television. Like in my high school, they had TVs in like one spot. Like this is before you could even just like turn on ESPN on your phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't even an option.
Like it had to be in like the cafeteria. There needed to be like a TV.
Yeah. So like you tried to catch that during breaks and during the summer. Well, finals go on like when school's out. So like you're watching and you're like, what? This is epic. Like it was just epic times. Wow. That's a great trip down memory road.
Those guys are now facing off in this series. So I love that pick for me because this is a cool series for me personally for that reason.
Yeah. All right, you're up. I mean, and also let me just add this real quick. If you want to presume a matchup for one of the 1s or 2 seeds, go ahead. Or even if you want to say, despite even caring who they play, I'm interested in Pistons versus Hornets versus whatever. Do as you wish. Get creative if you want.
So I will say I'm not interested in Cavaliers Raptors.
That's why I just gave you the option to pick something else.
And I, as a result of that, thank you for your leniency. And I am going to presume a matchup and say if the Celtics get the Sixers in that 2-7, I'm not missing a game.
Yeah.
If the Celtics get the Sixers in that 2-7, I'm not missing a game. Holy good gosh, golly. That would be for first round Eastern Conference, like throwaway quote unquote series. Right. That would be one of the winners of the second apron era. Is like, hey, this is a first round series because it's not two teams, and then everyone else was low key competing for draft positioning. Like, yeah, well, if we pick 25th, that's better than 27th, right? Like,
Right.
the Cavs or the Warriors are going to go to the finals again, but maybe we can take these last 4 games and get down to the 2nd seed. Like I really like the NBA and the parity it has right now, and I think this series, if everyone stays healthy, would be a really, really, really great use case or kind of like a paragon of the parity in the NBA today at a first round level.
Yeah, and I think to the second apron point, you could also just add it's the Embiid story, right? Like if Joel Embiid is fully healthy for a year, and that means 65 games, right? I'm not even talking about freaking more than 70, right? We could even say 55, 60 games of Joel Embiid being healthy. He was playing earlier on in the year unhealthily, still pretty good. And then finally like got going. Then he had appendicitis. Like this guy, you can't even make it up at this point. They should be theoretically on paper in 2K with injuries turned off, a top 4 seed in this conference, right? Like I think they're probably on par or better than the Cavs. If not, they're the clear 5, right? So they are pedigree wise in that ilk of like, all right, this would be tough. You're talking about Tyrese Maxey and Paul George is playing good basketball. And if Embiid is playing good basketball, the Celtics are going to be like, come on, you'd be kidding me. You know what I mean? You get the 2 seed on this year with Jaylen Brown, no Tatum until March. And we got Joel Embiid and Maxey and Paul George.
And you basically got the 6th seed, and you're basically going up against like a 3rd seed level team. It's like, what the hell?
So it's kind of crazy. So when the Knicks fans complain like, oh man, we got the Hawks, probably the worst draw of the bunch.
Nope.
That is
Sixers.
true. I was gonna say it's true if you considered the Raptors, Hawks, and Magic as the only 3 options. Because I think the Sixers were like kind of far from the 6, despite getting 7th, because they whatever, doesn't matter. The Sixers would be toughest if they're healthy. But if, and as a Knicks fan, you have to root for Embiid's health right now. You're rooting for him to be healthy as soon as possible.
Oh, 100%.
So he can, even if they lose, they beat up the Celtics and they, batter them down a little bit. And the Celtics should and could and almost definitely 100% should win that series, whether Embiid's fully healthy or not. But if the Sixers are rolling a little bit, the Celtics have to put some extra mileage on those tires. That's a great pick by you.
It really stinks that the appendicitis, but also I feel like I have to update like my initial response. Did you just get the Dexter Lawrence thing? I feel like
I did just get the Dexter Lawrence thing.
I feel like my initial response.
That is 2 people who are just too online in the sports world. You probably even heard the vibration through my microphone, and then I went, because my phone's on its side because I have the baby monitor up, and I read the Dexter Lawrence contracts reach an impasse. So good.
The appendicitis, I got scared at first because OG Anunoby had that and then missed the whole Raptors championship run. Like they went
right
to the last round possible and he still didn't play. But 2 things: 1, he was available, they just let him sit out or left him to sit out, and 2, his appendix burst. Embiid's, this was much more preemptive. So
they found it.
Yeah. So
this guy, I mean, he had what? Not I don't want to say he had I almost said the cerebral. He had Bell's palsy. He obviously had a slew of injuries, some wear and tear based than him being a 7'3" giant. Some of them being like he broke his face. Like this guy cannot catch a break with the injuries, even when he is technically healthy. Like crazy shit happens to him, and you hate to see it. As much as I had to fight people about Jokic should have won that MVP, like real recognize real. That dude is an immense talent. He's so good. The touch on Joel Embiid is just like, it's crazy how much touch he has for a 7'3" giant. Like, so respect to Joel Embiid, even though I despised him in that Knicks Sixers series. When he tackled Mitchell Robinson, I was about to get on the Amtrak to get to Philly. I was about to get in there. Just kidding. But
that game is the only road playoff game I've covered in my life. It's the only playoff game I've been in the building covering in my life in the NBA that was not at Madison Square Garden. Was Embiid 50 burger and attempted
ankle break,
attempted battery, and also people forget, because the Mitch thing was so bad, there is a play in that game where he just, and like there's no spinning this any other way. Like, I'm an NBA reporter. I have to like stand by my words when I say them. Like, I can't just like exaggerate for fun as
Right.
like Dominican as I want to be, and like as much as I want to be like, just like lean into my family making everything the biggest deal in the world and the sky's always falling. Or like that's how I grew up. But I have to like, stand by my words. I'm very willing to say that, like, when you look at the film, you would agree that Joel Embiid just straight up intentionally, while running by Isaiah Hartenstein, just elbowed him in the nuts.
100%.
Like that was not a basketball move, to use the NFL's term of like, oh, you have to do a football move after the catch. There
Right.
was no basketball move there. That was like, I'm running by you and you're annoying me by setting these picks at half court. So I'm going to bump you and also
By
just
elbowing you
completely
in
elbow
the
in the
dick.
nuts. Yeah. So like that game was
Sure.
crazy. And that's honestly like what the Knicks have to be ready for. It's what they had to be ready for against the Pistons, and it's what they
Yeah.
have to be ready for here against the Hawks. I think, if you want the glass half full, I think there's something a little bit better for a Knicks team that's been up and down all year, about a real test in a physical, long, young Hawks team, as opposed to a team in the Raptors that they've won the last 13 matchups against, where even if they did drop a game or two to Toronto and the series dragged on longer than it was supposed to,
Right.
because they didn't approach it with the fervor that they should have, even in those 4 wins, they didn't get geared up. They didn't rev up enough to be ready for round two. I think the Hawks might be a, a nice balance of adversity and
Right.
talent disparity.
Let's get the playoff calluses built up a little bit, but not to the point where you're like fighting for your life is the hopeful view on that. Yeah, no, Embiid was straight up a crybaby. I'm not a credentialed NBA reporter, so I'm going to say this, and you could nod your head if you want. You could just not, you can look away. You could take your headphones off. He was acting like such a baby in that series. And I am not somebody, if anyone listens to Subway Sports Talk, I'm not somebody who tries to shock jock and tries to come out here and do stuff like that. He was acting like a child in that series. He really was. And he played incredible basketball. So I'm willing to get, two things are true.
50-point game. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
like,
two things are true, KP. He was awesome. And he also played like a 12-year-old throwing a tantrum for half of the series. So those are things that are true. Let's move on. My next one has to be the hopeful Hornets Pistons, right? Because no one wants to see the Magic for a playoff series here. Let's hope for Pistons Hornets here in round one, and the Pistons, who can kind of emulate some of the energies that the Hornets can emulate some of the energies that the Pistons had last year, as this like up and coming, hey, we're here right now, but next year you better watch the hell out. But we're also still here right now. Hornets have that in them. They beat the Knicks pretty good this year. They beat the Celtics pretty good this year. They've beaten the Thunder pretty good this year. Like they're doing this, and they're serious, and they got a lot of scoring punch. They got a lot of athletes on that team. If Cade's not healthy, obviously the Pistons can get a pass from like the NBA world of like, hey, your MVP candidate was out for 5 of the 6 games or 7 games. Like, we get it. That happens. Tough draw for you guys. You lost to the Hornets. But even if Cade's healthy, the Hornets can absolutely throw punches their way. They absolutely can throw punches their way because they can shoot the piss out of the ball. And the mixture of LaMelo and Khan and Miller and Bridges is just a lot of attacking offense. And you throw in Kobe White, who just basically won them the game in the first playing game. They're serious. Pistons should win that game, that series, but the Hornets should be heard from if that is a series, and it should be pretty exciting.
Definitely. I think both of those teams have major flaws that would hold them back from being even Eastern Conference finalists.
Right.
Or not the Pistons. Pistons could be Eastern Conference finalists. Eastern Conference champions, definitely. I don't see either of those teams winning the conference. But that said, that can also sometimes make for a really fun series when two teams are kind of not perfectly matched, but maybe evenly flawed. Could be a fun matchup. I also I have a layup of a next pick here. I think this series should have been picked before. Actually, no, Pistons Hornets probably will be pretty fun. But it looks like we're gonna get Spurs Blazers.
Is that what's the score of that game right now?
Oh,
it's close. Blazers up 4, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like right now, it projects out just at the start of the second half as Blazers. Um, we'll see. Obviously, Suns at home, but either way, yeah, I'm interested either way. But the Suns bigs are so young. Definitely, the Blazers are a more intriguing challenge. I just really like Drew Holiday. Drew
Yeah.
Holiday going up against uh, Fox and Castle and Harper, that should be sweet. Kamara going up against Vassell and Keldon, that should be sweet. Uh, the length that the Blazers have in general going up against
And
Wemby.
Avdia turning into a real guy. I think one thing that's important to add with the Spurs, from my perspective, is like they can easily make it to the finals, but even if they do, I can see them hitting like some pretty big speed bumps, like those ones that are like in parking lots, where if you're going like 9 miles per hour, your car's like,
The
like,
tall ones, the
like,
tall ones.
like, whoa! I was like hardly on the gas there. That thing was crazy. You got to like roll at like 3 miles an hour over it. I could see
It's
them
like
hitting
not
them.
even a bump. It's like an installed like hard.
Right. Yeah. It'll like wreck your car. It's like go check your tires after. Like the Spurs, if they get the Suns or the Blazers, should win that series pretty easily. But there could be one game where it's like, oh my God, the Spurs just got murdered. Like they got crushed in game 2 at home. Like, how did Devin Booker and this ragtag team of Suns just do that? Like, I can see it. That's why there's intrigue there, even though I think the Spurs have that second. I think I'll put them third in the West, but like second, third best chance to represent the
Yeah.
West. Yeah. All right. Next one, because at this point we're kind of just playing with pretend. I'll take Cavs Raptors. It's just
It's
like,
either the Thunder against someone or
yeah, I'll just take Cavs Raptors because I mean we're picking them second to last here, so it's not like a great thing. Unfortunately for the Raptors, they epitomize an okay good team. Like that's just what they are. They are the AFC South team in in football. They're the NFC South in a lot of years. Like, oh, they're in the playoffs because they're good enough to be better than who they need to be, but they're clearly just not on the level of some of these other teams. Like maybe they could like throw a punch, but they are never making the Super Bowl, right? Like that's kind of like the vibe I get with the Raptors. They're a fun story. They are the inverse of some of these teams like the Hawks, where like the Raptors played great in the first 2 months of the season. That's the only reason they're even in the playoffs, because they had such a great lead and they just held on, just played regular basketball for a while. The Hawks and the Hornets were bad to start. Then holy crap, they're on fire. The Raptors' fire was so long ago that it's like, do they even have a lighter in their pocket? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where they're at. So it just kind of sucks because like Raptors fans are getting their sensitive feels out right now. Like no one cares about us, and like no, you guys are gonna see like no, we're gonna see exactly what we thought. Your team is mediocre. Sorry, like you know what I'm saying. Like, but I am interested to see how the Cavs look in the series a little bit at least. And lastly, Thunder, whoever is there even a team available here is like that will intrigue you more? Is like if it's Clippers Thunder or Warriors Thunder, are you going to be like
Clippers.
all right, yeah.
Clippers. Kawhi has been a top 5 MVP candidate for me this year. So
Did he hit the minimum? I think he did.
yeah.
Right? Wow.
100% did.
And he's a guy who, like Embiid, like when he's healthy, watch out, he can go win a game.
You were talking about closers earlier. He's up there.
I brought him up.
You did, and for good reason. It's SGA, Kawhi, Jokic, Brunson, Luka, in whatever order you want, is the top 5 closers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Full stop. Kawhi, when he's on, is still elite on both ends. When he's healthy, he's been healthy all year. We'll see.
Yeah,
that's
exciting.
That's my intrigue there.
I'm so pumped, man. What did we forget?
The Thunder will make him look probably not as great, but I'm a big Chris Dunn guy too. I think
Chris Dunn will do his best to make Shai's life a little hard, and then
he should have several
4 fouls.
He should have several all defense appearances, but he doesn't because of like the minutes played part of the games played rule. So like he has enough games where he played like 19 minutes in the game where then it doesn't count or qualify.
Let me ask you a question, because I think we're done now with the playoff stuff here. right? I think we're good on this point now. But let me ask you this: as somebody who you don't have a vote yet, right?
No, but I did a ballot for clutch points that I sent in. They're doing like an article of like the staff.
Very nice. And I'm gonna put this on record as well. You will have a vote at some point.
I
You will.
appreciate it.
Kris Pursiainen is gonna have a vote at some point in the relative future. But let me throw this at you. I was thinking about this today. The 65 game rule has been in effect for what, 3 years now? 2 years now? Give or take?
2
years. My take is that we've learned and we don't need the rule anymore. So obviously, like this Cade situation is very dumb. He played 65 games, but one of them he didn't get enough minutes. It doesn't count. He's at 64. He's out. Luka missed 2 games, the birth of his child. Now he's out. I think somebody else is one. Kate. No, I said Cade. There's one other player that's like Ant missed, his games and he missed by 1. He's out. I think the voters at this point now, with this conversation being a big conversation for 2 years, have learned. So now, whatever the threshold is, say it's still 65, on the ballot, that person has an asterisk. They make the ballot, but there's an asterisk next to their name. They played 60 whatever games. They played 58 games. They played 61 games. Because the idea that Cade Cunningham and Ant Edwards can play 400 minutes, give or take, more than Victor Wembanyama, but he played in 65 games. He's on the ballot. They're not. Even though they played 6 games worth more of minutes, they're out. So I think the rule worked to pull back into perspective how much you should play to be considered for these awards, right?
I agree that like guys who don't play 65 games probably shouldn't be winning these awards anyway. Here's the problem. This doesn't allow for someone who plays 60 games. Forget that people love like the 1 minute, the 1 game, whatever. Imagine someone plays 60 games and is so clearly the fill in the award that they still deserve it.
Right.
Then what are we doing?
It's when Joel Embiid won the MVP, right? And I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull this up just for the record here.
While you do, I can say in a sentence that I love how the Jokic fans that were previously like, "Well, just play 65 games," are now, when they thought Jokic might not get 65 games, they were like, "Well, maybe we should abolish the rule entirely." Actually,
that's fair. It wasn't the year that he won. It was the year prior where the argument was very much alive, right? So Jokic played 74, Embiid played 68. Both would have been on the ballot for this new rule, obviously. Anyway, but my argument for that is Nikola Jokic played 8 more games than Joel Embiid. 8 games is 10%, give or take, of a regular season. In my estimation, Joel Embiid should have to be 10% better than Nikola Jokic to win the most valuable player, because Nikola Jokic's value was played in 10% more games, right? Like that's kind of like a simple concept in my mind. If someone plays 76 games and the other person plays 16 games, that's almost 20% of a season, right? Not actually, it's close. It's like only 15, but whatever. You have to be 20% better, right? Like I think the voters have learned now. So you put the asterisk on Cade Cunningham, who played 64 games. Was Cade Cunningham's 64 games more valuable than Jalen Johnson's 74? I think you can make that argument.
Definitely.
Yes. And again, that's just someone who came into my mind who's getting, all NBA buzz. That could be now given back to the voters. Put it in their hands. Give them the information. This person didn't hit our suggested threshold. However, if you think their value outweighed this metric, vote for them. Boom. I think we learned enough that if somebody had 58 games or 54 games, you're probably just not going to vote for them anyway. You know what I mean? I think it's that simple.
I put a guy on my All-NBA third team who shot 39% from the field this year and 33% from 3.
Which conference?
East.
I want to guess. Eastern Conference. That poor.
39.4% field goal.
Derek White?
Derek White.
There you go. Look at that. Come on.
Very excellent. So, hell yeah. So my first team, I had Shea, Wemby, Jokic, Kawhi, Jaylen Brown. I would have put Luka, but we were told to exclude him. I think he's going to
he's
end
gonna
up
win the appeal.
getting cleared, but again, we'll see. Second team, I would have had Luka first team, and Jaylen Brown would have been bumped to the second team. Second team, Brunson, Maxey, Durant, Holmgren, Murray. And then third team, Duren, Mitchell, Towns, Derek White, LaMelo Ball. So I can say I gave Devin Booker and Luka Doncic spots in my head, but could not give them spots on the poll, which is why Derek White and LaMelo Ball made the third team. And that is why Jamal Murray went from third team to second team. And that is why Jaylen Brown went from second to first.
And I think you throw Cade into that situation and another person gets the boot. You know what I mean? You got to throw someone else out.
100% correct. So, like, you know, when you look at stuff like Sixth Man of the Year, which is not impacted, or these other awards, like the most Rookie of the Year is not impacted. Like, I think it's still just logic wins out.
Right.
I don't understand the requirement. I feel like even if you make the requirement 60 games, it would still do its job.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, who that plays less than 58 is even going to make. You know why I like 60? Because it forces writers not to be lazy when voting, and it forces people not to rely on name brand value. Where
that's fair.
A guy who plays
LeBron James playing 56 games and gets on because he's LeBron James.
So that's what this rule is for, right? It's literally the bowling railing guard, the bumpers for the gutter. It's like, you can't mess up. You cannot. You can pick someone who doesn't deserve it, and it will look dumb. But you literally cannot pick someone who super no way they deserve. Right. And like, if you look dumb, you're going to look dumb on your own accord. We're not going to help facilitate.
And I think the number for like scoring title, for example, is 58. So why can you score 59 game or play 59 games, lead the league in points per game, and be considered the scoring champion, but you can't be considered for an All-NBA team? So those numbers need to be aligned as well, I believe.
They should just both be 60.
Yeah, both be 60 and keep it pushing. Maybe I like that too. I think we just figured it out. Lastly, why?
And we figured out the league pass thing. That's all.
NBA League Pass wrapped. Yeah. If you're just tapping in and you're listening right now at 2 hours marks, go to like minute 4. Me and Chris banging out our best idea. The NBA League Pass wrapped, where you get all your statistics of every player you watch the most, every team you watch the most, the person you see most hit the most threes. It'd be
you watched Musa Diabate extend 400 Hornets possessions.
That's so good. Oh my God.
Jalen Brunson drew 39 charges.
While you were on League Pass. That's fantastic. Also, again, we have to say goodbye, but one more thing just popped in my head. Why is the NBA the only major sport that doesn't care about total statistics? Right? So in the NFL, we all know you you ran for 1,000 yards, good season. You threw for 30 plus touchdowns, good season. You got 15 sacks, great season. MLB, you hit 40 home runs. Wow, power hitter. NBA is like, you got 30 points per game. Why are those numbers, the counting stats, which is what they are, not ever treated as counting stats?
They try not to they try as much as possible not to honor the just out there stats and the accumulation stats. So,
but is there not value to just being out there?
But what's Seth Partnow wrote the book The Mid-Range Theory, and he talked in it about this rule, and I forget what the exact numbers are. Let's say they were 75 25 10, or it's like 70 20 10, something like that, where it's like every game, no matter what, an NBA team is going to score 70 points, get 20 rebounds, and get 10 assists. Right. No matter what happens, every single game, they are going to hit those benchmarks. So your VORP becomes like what you add to that. And at the NBA level, I think the reason that those totals aren't valued as much is because everybody knows that somebody can be the number one option on a bad team,
score 20 points,
and score 3,000 points or whatever in a season.
Right.
And then it means nothing. And that same player can go like let me just pick one out of a hat. Jeremy Grant was really important for the Denver Nuggets. And then he was like, I want more responsibility. So he went to the
Right.
Pistons and he 8 innings for them for a bit. And no one was like, oh, he's better now or he's
Right.
going to win more. But let me
Yeah.
tell you, he got paid a whole lot more. And that was what he wanted for that stretch of his career. And now he's back to, kind of happened into contributing to a winning team and being an important part of them and sticking around in Portland. So guys can want different things, guys can this and that, but at the NBA level, it's there's so many games, right? But it's different from baseball. Okay, it's different from football because there are so many games. But
Right.
then baseball has even more games, but it's different from baseball because baseball can feasibly end 1-0 or
Right.
6-6 or 4-0.
Right.
Basketball, yeah, there are a lot of blowouts in the NBA and we all don't like it, but every team scores 4 runs per game in the NBA. And
Yeah.
you're defined by how good you are based on do you average 6, 8 or 10 runs per game, and do your pitching staff, do they hold other teams to 4 or to 6 or 7 or 5 or
Right.
4, no, sorry, to 4 or 5 or 6 runs per game can your pitchers hold? So it's a different
The
sport.
math threshold is completely different.
And
Yeah.
if baseball final scores were 8-5, 7-4, 9-5, 9-6, and then sometimes 6-0, sometimes 7-4, sometimes 7-2, sometimes 5-2, I think you would see total stats matter less there too, because it's like, well, guys
Yeah.
are always hitting home runs.
Right. That's an interesting point
You score
because
how many field goals per game versus you hit how many home runs per season.
right. And at the same time, like football and baseball do use averages and percentages, like they do. Like obviously batting average, OPS is like the most popular number right now. Yards per carry, yards per attempt, all that stuff, all does matter. So it makes sense. But to add to the thought real quick, do you know who had the most total points in the regular season this year?
It's not SGA because he sat a lot. It is not Luca because he was hurt.
Huh?
Jalen Brown?
It's a good guess. You had the top three in the opposite order. It's Luka
Uh,
Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Brown. So Luka Doncic,
Ah,
who is not eligible for postseason awards, playing 64 games, scored more points this NBA season than anyone else in the NBA.
see, I just fell into the trap. I was like, he missed games, so it can't
Right.
possibly be him. Wrong. He was that good.
He was that good. He scored so many points per game that he still scored the most in the NBA. The only
I
total
saw.
stat that we actually ever even bring up in the NBA is 3-pointers made. It's the only counting total that ever gets brought up.
Yeah, yeah. I think with Luca, I think the best way to put it is like, I saw someone say that the third team, maybe it was Brett Siegel, my colleague at Clutch Points, said NBA third team, all NBA third team shouldn't have the 65 game threshold, only
Okay.
first and keep 65, but keep it only for first and second, so that Luca and Cade all just fall into all NBA third team.
Yeah, I like
That
that.
maybe you
Kind
still
of.
get a little of that LeBron name brand, that thing we were talking about,
Correct.
but how many guys fall out of the top 2 teams? For example, there's only 2 spots on that third team that could be filled by name brand spots
Right.
because 3 of them are gonna be filled by guys we know are
Who got
deserving up
second team
there
votes?
who
Yeah,
are
for sure.
trickling down. So, that to
Interesting.
me actually presents as a fix just because even though philosophically it's not perfect, in practice, it might actually work.
It actually totally could work. That's a good idea. And I think the main point of why, you and I are even talking about this is what Bill Simmons says all the time. This is what tells the story of the season. And to me, this year in particular, this didn't happen yet in the previous years, but this year in particular, if you want to talk about the story of the 25-26 NBA season, you can't tell it without Luca, Cade, and Ant Edwards. Maybe you could actually probably tell it without Ant Edwards, probably, but you can't tell it without Luca or
No.
Cade.
Conference finals and talking in Obama's face to not disrespect him. Dude, conference final making the
No, no,
conference finals
conference finals
twice.
was last year. I'm talking about this year. Talking about 25, 26.
I
This season.
was thinking like 2020s. My bad.
No, like you can't tell that you could. I do not think you could tell the story of this season without Luka or Cade. The one
You're
seed's
right,
best
this
player,
season.
and you know 6 seed kind of whatever. But like that's the problem. You're gonna look at Cade Cunningham's basketball reference in 30 years when me and you are on a podcast arguing with a bunch of 25-year-olds, and you're gonna look at Cade's basketball reference like he didn't even make an All NBA team that year. Like what? He was incredible. He should have been an MVP.
Him drop 42, 8, and 13 at the Garden this season.
Right.
It was like the best individual performance I saw at MSG all year. And he's not going to make All NBA because he didn't play one more game, but he played hundreds of more minutes than it is. It's because it is. It's because it is. And people try to counter with things that are like tangentially related. Like, well, should you really make All NBA if you didn't play this many games? And it's like, I think the best way to put it is to think about it in the other direction. Instead of thinking about it as not doing enough, think about it as doing too much. So if there's a police officer behind 4 cars, speed limit's 55. The 4 cars are going 70, 75, 80, and 85. And then the police officer only pulls over the guy going 70. It's like, that's kind of BS, right? Like these people are speeding, but you were speeding.
Luka and Cade caught the 85 guy.
And it's like I can't believe that we're genuinely sitting here arguing about, well, who was speeding more, who was speed. It's like, what? This all feels dumb because it is. And I think when you bring up tell the story of the season, what do these NBA teams, all NBA teams say about the story of the season? It says, oh, that's the year that they had that 65 game year. So
before they tweaked it at all.
Yeah. That's not a story. That's just an asterisk.
And I'm not complaining in the sense that like they tried this because they totally did the right thing. This is the right move. But now you learned, let's adjust. And that's it. And now I will have to say we should probably end this show because it's about
I was gonna say we played all 82.
Oh, yes, we did. This was awesome. I had a great time. I gotta say. This was a wonderful show on Subway Sports Talk with Kris Pursiainen of Clutch Points and Knicks Daily, writing great articles. His Twitter is fantastic. Follow him. Over 480 people popped into the live on Twitter. I haven't checked out YouTube, but if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for doing that as well. And I feel like we may have to do something like this again one day soon because this was so much fun. Kris, always a pleasure. I miss running into you at the fan. We went 2 hours. We didn't even bring up the fan, and we got to be careful because if we start talking about that,
we won't. But I'll be back.
I might. Who's to say? But maybe I'll see you in the newsroom once again, and we'll watch some sports together and shoot the breeze. I will hope to see you again on a show here like this.
Nolan McLean.
I have right now on my other screen is Nolan McLean's sweeper movement confused Ohtani, and it's been playing on a loop for the last like 15 minutes. That's all we got. Subway Sports Talk. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and X. Kris Pursiainen, you're the man. Enjoy your time in the Garden for the playoffs, man. It's going to be hopefully a ton of fun and hopefully a long run of you getting into Midtown to watch some basketball. All right, that's all we got. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.